Good evening from the Right Side Broadcasting Network studios. I'm Matthew Alvarez.
And I'm Bobby McNeely. It's a pleasure to be with you once again, Matthew, here in beautiful Auburn, Alabama. Very hot today, but still beautiful nonetheless.
Definitely. And speaking of beautiful, Reno, Nevada, where we're going to be going live, where JD Vance, the senator from Ohio, of course, will be speaking around 7:30 tonight. Have you ever been to Lake Tahoe out there?
You know, I haven't, but family has, and I can't wait to go. I like to play some golf out there. I know the globalist elites like to have their pro-am out there, but a lot of great golf out in Reno and hiking, and what a beautiful area of the country.
It definitely is. And so, again, 7:30, that's when the vice presidential nominee, JD Vance, will take the stage. Of course, we still have a couple hours to that point yet, but we'll have a number of items to talk about here. A lot going on in the 24/7 news cycle, as everybody knows. But what do you expect JD to speak about today in the sense of, you know, we're less than 100 days out from the election, Bobby?
Well, I think he wants to tackle a lot of some of the, well, not only the policy issues, but some of his comedy. You know, he joked around in that first speech ever since President Biden dropped out of the race that he was a bit jealous that President Trump will likely be debating Kamala Harris instead of him having a chance to do so. So I like his style, clearly very similar to the president's, President Trump's, but really focused on what is going to happen in the West. Being that's Nevada, the no tax on tips, a big promise of the Trump administration or the next Trump administration to help the service industry, which is heavily dominated by the Nevada economy.
Exactly. So we know that JD will be going from Nevada to Arizona then. Mm-hmm. He will be seeing the border on Thursday. He also has an event there tomorrow. There's just a lot going on right now, obviously, with the Trump campaign. You know, with President Trump's events, we'll be sharing with you all the details we know of how many that he has coming up. And then, of course, with JD going to the southern border, I mean, you look at Kamala Harris, the so-called border czar, it looks like JD Vance is already winning in that area.
Well, there's no question. And she was called the border czar. If it was Washington Post or the New York Times, there is a track record. There are screenshots from 2021 when she was quickly appointed to be the border czar. But we know that President Biden signed several executive orders focused on getting rid of what President Trump had done in the sense of being more inclusive, as he put it. But she clearly failed at that job. She had never visited the border, even when she was asked by mainstream media during interviews. She said, "I haven't even visited Europe, so I don't know what you're getting at."
Exactly.
I mean, it's really kind of laughable.
Yeah.
And it'll be funny to watch them try to backtrack from
100%. And all of those posts on Truth Social by President Trump and others, you know, highlighting what Kamala Harris has talked about over the years. Interestingly enough, with Neil Cavuto yesterday, I don't know if you saw the Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana.
Right.
Did you see the back and forth with that?
I did. That was really enjoyable. He's quite entertaining. I've been able to go to a couple of different events with him, and he really just has a way of bringing across his comedy. So a big fan of his.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's thank the Birch Gold Group before we continue here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. As you see there, all you have to do is text Trump to 989898. Of course, gold, silver, precious metals. Always good to have something like that as a financial peace of mind, right?
Oh, there's no question. I actually had some mail come in earlier this week, and it was detailing that I had some IRA left over from a previous job, so I have to figure out what to do with that. I might be calling Birch Gold.
Yeah, there you go. And all you have to do is text Trump to 989898. That free info kit is awesome. It really lays it out for you, all the details you need, and that's always good. You know, sometimes less is more, and sometimes it just being simple to understand.
Right.
Even though it's a complicated, issue when it comes to the financial markets and the Fed and interest rates and all that, but Birch Gold Group, they'll help you out.
Oh, they really will. And you want to probably convert your 401k or IRA to gold, silver, precious metals. And given what's happened 50 years ago, the Nixon administration changed the gold standard. This was under Henry Kissinger's leadership to the petrodollar, making the dollar the global currency standard. But the problem is the Saudi Arabians are trading with those BRICS nations. So China, Brazil, India, they're all looking to take advantage of what's taking place with Biden. inflation. So you have to find a way to protect yourself, and you can do that well with gold, silver, and precious precious metals.
Exactly. So text Trump to 989898. And Bobby, you just brought up the international community as we take a live look there in Reno, Nevada. Gorgeous town, and also, of course, Lake Tahoe, not too far from that location there. We're looking at some of the social media posts from Venezuela and that whole thing. I mean, it's just, the people of Venezuela and all around the world, they want freedom,
Oh, no question. I think you've seen that with a number of different leaders who have asked the United States, please vote for President Trump. Please put him back into office, whether you're looking at Argentina, El Salvador, Italy, even to a certain extent, France. You have seen right-wing populism on the rise throughout Western society, especially in Europe and South America. They're having very similar arguments to what we're having. Liberty or tyranny? Do we continue on this dance, the siren song of socialism? And, quite frankly, we fought a Second World War over these ideologies, Marxism, communism, fascism, quietly had, well, not necessarily quietly, but had gone to rest post the Soviet Union, now rearing its ugly head once again with some people using their policies, and that sadly includes the current vice president.
Exactly. And so when you look at Venezuela, the images out of there are some of them are horrific. I mean, there's been some violence down there. So, again, as to your point, it's the free world versus tyranny, right? The tyrannical governments. But
right.
The free world way outnumbers those few people that are trying to kind of control the whole situation.
Well, and it's what's so interesting about these different social media sites, or even RSBN being outside of the so-called mainstream, the big corporate elite, the globalist media, the big tech elites. Clearly there are more freedom lovers in the world than there are those trying to suppress people's God-given individual rights.
Exactly. All right, shifting gears a little bit there. You can see that live video from Reno, Nevada. This is Bobby McNeely. I'm Matthew Alvarez. And earlier, I don't know if the camera person can hear us, but they were showing a impersonator. Elvis was taking some photos there. I don't know how long of a trip it is from Reno to Vegas, but it is quite a number of hours.
Well, clearly, Elvis has left Las Vegas, and he's coming into the building in Reno, Nevada.
Yes, and he wants to see the vice presidential nominee, JD Vance, as you see there, set to speak at 7:30 Eastern. Of course, that's 4:30 out there on the West Coast. So we're thankful that you guys are joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. If you'd like to follow Right Side on Truth Social, it's at RSBN. Also on the Rumble channel, you can go ahead and follow RSBN as well. And a buddy of mine was asking me today, he was saying, so wait, where does Right Side, broadcast all of their stuff? Is it just YouTube? And I said, no, man. I said, there's Rumble and X and Facebook, and there's so many other places on the app and on the website as well.
Right, and it's a great way to share throughout all social medias, and we're seeing that a bit now. There are reports that Google and others have somewhat suppressed the Trump assassination attempt in their searches. Facebook as well admitting to that. We actually just put a post out just about half an hour ago telling that story, sharing that story that President Trump truthed that he was pretty much disgusted with Facebook, given their ability to continue to censor. So it's good to be on several different platforms, get the message out there as much as possible.
100%. And to your point, I mean, the photo, they were saying something was doctored with the flag, and all. Again, censorship. And the New York Post was even saying something about big tech, but rig tech, they said on the front page of the paper there. I'm a fan of the Post sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes not so much.
Alexander Hamilton's paper, so a lot of history there, but it's really interesting. And even what's disturbed me more, Matthew, I would say in the last week, was Christopher Wray's testimony. The fact that he said it could have been glass, it could have been shrapnel, when it clearly was bullets fired upon the crowd. Our thoughts and prayers are still with Corey Campitor, his family. What a tragic loss. You never expect something like that to happen until it does. But then to have our FBI director go there before the House Judiciary Committee and almost treat them as if they're glib or as if they're children. And sometimes I feel like that with these bureaucrats. They almost think that it's almost like we're children and it's our parents saying, oh, no, I know better, sweetie. I know better, honey.
Right.
And quite frankly, the American people are a lot smarter than Christopher Wray and others make them out to be.
And the people are the boss, technically,
right.
under this constitutional republic. So we'll get to some more of those points in just a minute. Now, we know that there are 6 electoral votes up for grabs in the Silver State. Of course, Bobby, one of the strong 7 of the swing states, right? So this is one of those swing states. The polls there, whether you look at Polymarket or Interactive or Rasmussen, it looks to me that President Trump's got quite the lead there, too.
It sure seems like it. He seems popular in Nevada. You have a number of Latinos who live in Nevada. You have the gaming that is there as well. Traditional Republicans, I would say, perhaps in past platforms, were anti-gambling, anti-gaming. That seems to not be a huge issue in the MAGA and populist platform pieces. But also you have the fact that I mentioned before, no tax on tips. So much of the service industry is driven by tourism and entertainment in Nevada. And I think those will really work out well for the Trump policies and maybe catch some ears and eyes of those who live and work in Nevada.
Exactly. So prices have jumped some 22% since the Democrats moved into the White House. We're talking about right there in the Silver State. And that is the increases for everyday goods costing the people of Nevada nearly $1,200 more per month. That's ridiculous.
Right. Oh, no, it's getting harder and harder to put food on the table for your family. Seniors having to choose between medication and if they eat or even stay in their home. And this is definitely affecting Nevada. It's affecting people across the entire country. And I really think that President Trump and Senator Vance are building a 50-state solution where issues can, not only affect those on the West Coast right now where he is tonight, but those all the way here towards the East Coast, in Central, in Midwest America. So it's very interesting to see how this policy platforms, as we read during our RNC coverage, really is tangible to so many people.
Yeah, I mean, make America wealthy again. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with making it safe again, strong again, and great again.
Right.
So that's what we're seeing from a new Trump administration if he wins this November, which if you're reading the tea leaves, you see the people out there, right? You see how bad it is under the current administration. You see the polls. And you saw what happened in 2020 after some great years in 2016 to 2020. So we're seeing what's out there. And so I just wanted to share a little bit. We have the RSBN game plan too as well. We've got the vice president the nominee will head to Arizona for a campaign stop. And then again to the southern border on Thursday. And then tomorrow, President Trump goes to Chicago and Harrisburg, PA.
Right, which will be very exciting to see him going to Chicago because just having been from there and seeing Illinois has been a very, very blue state. But interestingly enough, President Trump has actually done better than Republican presidential candidates really since Eisenhower, and specifically on the south side of the city and within the south suburbs, which are historically more working class, more Democrat. We'll see if he can make some inroads there, because there's a lot of votes there. And he did relatively well in 2016 and 2020 compared to recent Republican presidential candidates, whether it be George W. Bush, John McCain, Mitt Romney, who really did terribly in those areas.
Exactly. So Chicago, then to Harrisburg, PA tomorrow. So for Chicago, that's the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. President Trump will attend that. And then it will be Rally Day in Pennsylvania tomorrow in Harrisburg, PA. That's going to be pretty awesome.
Oh, no question about it. Back to Pennsylvania after those scary and tragic events of July 13th, but then also a Truth Social post by the president recently saying, going outdoors, it's not going to deter us. We are all about free speech. This is what this campaign, this movement is about. So clearly we're going to now do not only indoor, but outdoor. And it'll be maybe a little bit easier to hear outdoors because, as you know, when you go to these indoor stadiums, they're so exciting. But just being with Nikki in Charlotte, that was, the decibels were roaring. It was a loud, really loud crowd.
Yeah, and then just the other day, those of you that are in Minnesota watching us right now, of course, in St. Cloud, quite loud. Then you go to Grand Rapids, Michigan, just the week after the Butler incident. So yeah, a lot of loud crowds out there. And of course, when President Trump does some more outdoor rallies, there will be so many thousands of people there. It's going to be awesome to see that. And then we don't know yet with Butler where the venue is, but he did say he's going back to Butler. So it's going to be great to see the president continuing on and the people right there with him.
It's very exciting, and nothing has slowed down. The momentum has not slowed down. It's actually funny to hear his stories as well, and how lighthearted he's been right on the heels of a very aggressive and serious situation. He had made a comment back in Charlotte that, jokingly, that First Lady doesn't like that can be unpresidential. He said, "Honey, the speeches are so great, but please don't do the thing where you're pretending that men are doing the weightlifting in the female sports."
Exactly.
I really got a kick out of that.
Yeah, he's always, the fact that he could be comical during the time of our country right now, as we are less than 100 days from the election. We see the world scene right now with Hezbollah and Israel. We see what's going on in Venezuela. There's so many things that can really weigh us down. But at the end of the day, to have that lighter kind of atmosphere, that lighter delivery within the seriousness, right? Peace through strength kind of thing.
Right.
The balance that he and the American people have right now is quite impressive.
It's exciting to watch. Seems like people are opening their eyes and really wanting to get engaged like they did not before. And, regardless of what happens throughout the world, because of what we're seeing in Venezuela, what we're seeing in the United States, it's good to protect yourself, not only financially, but your own personal health. So I'd like to thank the Wellness Company, an outstanding company brought on by Dr. Drew Pinsky, Dr. Peter McCullough. If you recall these names, these two gentlemen were canceled for their findings. They were the anti-Fauci leaders because they were the fact finders. They went in there and wanted to protect you. So very important. They were telling the truth to the Texas Senate. I remember Dr. Peter McCullough's testimony a couple of years ago talking about how ivermectin works, amoxicillin works. These 8 medications in this pack, you can get there. You can see on the screen, makecaregreatagain.com and save 15% with code RSBN. And essential to have, whether you're hiking, whether you're out on the road, or whether you just put it near your pantry just to make sure you and your family are safe.
Exactly, and so that's 15% off with the RSBN code there. So Z-Pack as well. I mean, I've never actually used a Z-Pack, but my buddy and his wife told me that you got to have one of those.
Right, and I'm fortunate. My neighbors, they're just outstanding. They're really awake to what's all that's going on here, and we have some of these waiting for us just in case anything were to happen, in case there's another surge in COVID, bird flu, monkeypox. Any of those things are very scary, and quite frankly, the vaccine may not be the best choice for you. Of course, consult with your doctor, and this is prescription only. You cannot go to the pharmacy just down the street, just to Walgreens or CVS and say, I need this over the counter. This is prescription only, but these medications actually help, God forbid, you get very sick with one of these terrible viruses.
The Wellness Company, it's the emergency kit. You can get one today. So we were talking about all the places that President Trump and JD Vance will be going throughout these campaign stops. We did not mention that President Trump will be holding a rally in Atlanta this Saturday.
Right, and that just announced through the wires this afternoon. And that will be very exciting because Vice President Kamala Harris is now at an event in Atlanta herself. And I got a few texts about some sign waving that's happening. I have a fun group of friends back home who are mostly involved in different conservative coalitions and groups, and they wanted to let the vice president know how much of the Atlanta area is MAGA country, so they have a good time with that.
But can you believe you just said that, Bobby?
Right.
Atlanta,
Right.
metro area, and MAGA country. Usually you might not think that's one and the same, but now it is.
Right, very much so, and we'll see what happens in the next few months here, but again, as I took the stroll down today to Auburn, there's a lot of bumper stickers, there's a lot of signs that you see that seem to be going this Trump direction in the last few weeks here, a different kind of energy.
Right.
And sometimes you don't see this around really until the fall because people are busy with summer, they're traveling, going out and doing other things. But look at all these rallies we've had, 3 or 4 post the assassination attempt. It's deterred no one. There's been overflow crowds. People have been excited. Senator Vance was in his hometown, and that was great. You were there in Ohio, and to watch him jump out of the vehicle to go say hi to the people who couldn't get in really, it's exciting to see that there is hope and not fear as a result of something so sad.
That is perfectly put. And also, I like what you said about Trump direction, going in the Trump direction. And when you think of that, it's the freedom direction or the Constitution direction. It's it's interchangeable. It's the same thing, in my opinion.
Oh, there's no question about it. This populist movement is a big tent movement, and that's where I think the criticisms from the mainstream media can happen sometimes, that, oh, the Republicans are divided and this, that, and the other. Or this was my favorite, the weird, oh, it's weird what JD Vance said, and it's weird what President Trump said, Turning Point Believers Summit the other night. Although, what's really odd is that Vice President Kamala Harris regularly has transgender performers in the vice presidential offices that want to perform with children. Very, very, I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Isn't it interesting, Bobby, that what the left calls us is what they actually are?
Right, exactly.
That's just the way it is. You were talking about Kamala Harris a little bit, and I remember you sent me a text message, and I think Grace as well, that it said about the Supreme Court reforms with Biden, right? So Biden's calling for these Supreme Court reforms, but I wrote in my notes here, the people didn't say they wanted that. The people never said. Again, we have to remember, it is of we the people. So the government keeps trying to make these decisions. We're the ones that are supposed to be in charge. But then you look at Kamala Harris. According to the Palm Beach playbook, not only is Harris an extreme progressive, she also had many things to say about the Supreme Court. If you look at 2019, she said, quote, "I'm open to this conversation about extending the number of people on the U.S. Supreme Court, about increasing the number of people on the U.S. Supreme Court."
And that's what's so scary. 2 points here. They hate the Electoral College, and these are the progressives. And you've seen this going back to even FDR's administration. Kamala Harris is the presumptive Democrat nominee right now. If she goes into this convention, she did not receive one vote from the people through the primaries. 14 million people voted for President Biden, and their representation will not be there at the convention. Very interesting, because they want to get rid of the Electoral College that ensures that the people have a voice all the way at the top, that certain city centers like New York or Los Angeles can't just dominate the rest of the country, and especially Middle America. But this is a playbook out of years and years ago when FDR attempted to do this and was blocked on numerous occasions. And it harkens back to, look at what President Biden did in the Oval Office. That fireplace, that mantle, it's an honorary position for George Washington as the father of the country to be over that. It's tradition of the presidents. And he removed that. He kept Washington's portrait there, but who did he put there? FDR. So did LBJ. So this is a movement, not just one person, but a progressive movement that has been going on for years and years now, from the 20th century now to the 21st. Same playbook, same ideas. And I think they're going to try to force this through before the end of Biden's presidency.
100%. And we look at the extreme policies, the extreme progressive moves that are being made. Even some Democrats aren't even on board with such extreme measures. If you look around the country right now, we were talking about a little bit after the assassination attempt, we were looking at a number of things when it came to unity for this country. And, I know there are a lot of emotions, ranges of emotion. And I think that with Democrats in general, there's some good-hearted people that are Democrats out there in this country. It's the extreme liberals that want the woke agendas to happen and stolen elections and all. At the end of the day, I think sometimes we think that there's so many more of them out there, but there's not really that many because of the big megaphone of the left-wing media.
Well, and we're fortunate enough to be in such a neat position where we can be news junkies, absorb this, bring this great information to you, the patriots at home. But even, going through all this information, it was so interesting to see Sean O'Brien at the convention, because he was the first International Teamsters president to present to the Republican Party in 121 years, not only just as the International Teamsters president, but as a member of the Teamsters. And he mentioned that the ultra-right, the ultra-left were criticizing him for wanting to go to either convention. And he said, President Trump opened the doors here so I could break bread with him and talk about how we can help working people in America. Seems like common sense to me, and I think most people are there. So even like the Democrats at home and the Democrat neighbors you might have, the patriots that are watching us, don't necessarily push to the side just because of party affiliation. You probably have a lot more in common with them than you think.
Exactly. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if we want freedom, if we want the Constitution to be the law of the land, if we know that we were built on a Judeo-Christian philosophy and faith in the Bible, right? Then we have to vote for who we want in office, and hopefully that's what we get is a free and fair election come this November. And we were talking about those GOP platforms, and one of them is about secure elections and voter ID and all that. So, we see what's happening. Again, we were talking about Venezuela earlier. We don't want to see anything even close to that in this country. Oh, no question. That's just the fall of democracy. That's the unraveling of everything that our founders fought for. And we've had, tumultuous times in American history, arguably the greatest being the Civil War. That was truly the first time that idea was tested. You had abolitionists at the time who were actually shredding our founding documents because they said it did not go far enough. And then you look historically, of course, what's interesting about our founders, namely Washington and Jefferson, although they were slave owners, although they did have plantations, upon their deaths in their wills, they had freed their slaves. Now, Jefferson was interesting because that wasn't necessarily successful for some of his because he died massively in debt, mostly due to his wine collection, which is an interesting story in and of itself. But they clearly wanted to move in a direction against popular times. And we as a country always seem to come to harmony, but it's done through the electoral process. It's done through dialogue and discussion, not by bullets, not by attacking one another. And that's the ultimate goal, especially here at this Right Side Broadcasting Network, to bring you the facts peacefully and patriotically and to have discussion, robust discussion. That's what Americans deserve. Exactly. And then that's what we do, of course, at every rally, every event. We're able to talk to the people and everything from the people to the vice president to the president now. In this case, as we are awaiting the Ohio Senator, JD Vance, to speak at 7:30 there in Reno, Nevada. A very busy week. If you're just joining us right now, Bobby, a very busy week. We've got a lot of travel going on. Obviously, Mr. Vance will be going to Arizona, and then President Trump will be in Pennsylvania tomorrow, Atlanta on the weekend. But here at Right Side, we're going to have it all covered. Oh, absolutely. We always do. And an exciting time for the country. And I think there will be some great highlights today, whether it's the not taxing on tips for servers and those in the service industry. I think that will highlight tonight's speech or this afternoon's speech for Senator Vance out in Nevada. And then, of course, highlighting, I expect, a lot of border security as well, not only in this speech, but when he visits Arizona. Yeah, exactly. So that's on Thursday when he'll be visiting the southern border. Tomorrow he'll be in Glendale, Arizona. So he's got his West Coast tour getting wrapped up there by Thursday. Of course, President Trump all across the country as well. Let's talk about Pennsylvania. What a state we got to win. Let's be real. Oh, there are certain states in the mix of seven that I think are must-wins, Pennsylvania being one. And that's why it'll be very interesting to watch who Kamala Harris selects as her running mate. Of course, there's discussion of Governor Josh Shapiro being on the ticket, but they are running into a problem because there is a large majority of that party who is anti-Semitic, not only in Washington, D.C. with the squad, but those outside of Detroit, Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan, a strong, large Arab population, pro-Palestinian. And we saw what happened last week in Washington, D.C. when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did his due diligence, meeting with the vice president and then meeting with the president, which was interesting in and of itself because who is in charge? Because her ceremonial office is literally steps. It's in the Eisenhower building, just steps from the Oval Office. I had the fortunate opportunity to visit there when Vice President Pence was in office for his Bible study, which I learned that was not continued upon the Biden-Harris administration.
taking power. But then what happened there, Union Station surrounding hotels were filled with insects. They took down the American flag. You could argue there was an insurrection at the Capitol, quite frankly, with what they did, burning the American flag, putting up the Palestinian flag, and then Speaker Johnson going there, replacing that with a new American flag. That was very patriotic, and we thank him for his service and his duty.
And then also the University of North Carolina students who lifted up that flag, the old glory. You remember that photo? It's in the rain, and they're just holding up that flag when some of the Palestinian protesters were there. I like what President Trump says when he gets asked these questions about Ukraine and Russia and Israel and the Palestinians and all this stuff going on. He basically says, I want the killing to stop.
Right. It's very, when you actually listen to, and that's why we bring you this wall-to-wall, nonstop coverage of these events, because when you listen to a Trump speech or the approach of it, one of the biggest highlights I get is the fact that he wants to inject common sense. And that was actually interesting to see at the Believer Summit, because there were some boos specifically on the abortion issue. But he said, look, I've been very clear about this. I'm adopting the Reagan philosophy. I want to protect life as much as we can from conception to natural death. There will be exceptions based on the states. The states will now decide whether that's through referendum, whether that's through the legislature and the governor signs that. So this is how we'll balance that out. And some people within the conservative movement, or even within the populist MAGA movement, calling for a national ban. Senator Lindsey Graham is one of them, around 15 weeks, very similar to Europe. But he's unafraid, pending who he's talking to bring a common sense approach to all governance, and almost, in a sense, a hands-off approach. I see him, I like to start calling him the Federalist president. You know, he's someone who believes in the 10th Amendment, that states and localities actually have a lot of say in specific policy, not just Washington, D.C.
Exactly. Tax Network USA. We want to thank our great sponsor there, Tax Network USA. Of course, people that might be missing their filing with taxes or need any assistance along that process, the number's there, 800-357-1415. Always good, Bobby, to have someone like that to help you out.
Well, right. And so many times it's, really interesting to think about. We started a revolution over roughly, at the time, was a 2% tax. Now, granted, it was taxation without representation, of course, led to the Tea Party. And this now, so many good patriots are probably paying too much in taxes because they're trying to do the right thing and do their due diligence. And then, I didn't need to give so much over. But whether it's renting, purchasing, and especially on the major purchases in our lives, income taxes, property taxes, everything is taxed. So it's good to just check on in with our friends and patriots over at Tax Network USA and make sure that you're not getting or falling victim to the IRS. And look at the Biden tenure. 87,000 new IRS agents. I mean, thousands and thousands coming after you. They have weaponized the federal government against the American people, and make sure that you don't get caught in the crosshairs.
And there you go, Tax Network USA. You see that number there on your screen. A great group, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Bobby McNeely. We are live there in Reno, Nevada, one of our great camera ops out there on the West Coast. I almost thought it was mountain time there, but it's actually Pacific time there in Reno, Nevada. So
it gets very confusing out there sometimes. You have Arizona that doesn't recognize daylight savings. Hawaii is the same way. But a beautiful paradise. Our western United States, so many people over the 19th century for the gold rush, and then for the entertainment rush of the early 20th century, trying to make their lives better out there. And what a beautiful place to live. And it's interesting. That's now home to Mark Wahlberg and his family even. He moved out of the Los Angeles area to give his kids a better life as well. So Nevada, even though 6 electoral votes, not many per se on the map, but may be crucial to who it becomes the next president of the United States.
Exactly. So those 7 swing states, of course, Nevada being one of the big ones there. And then if we look at the other swing states, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, where, of course, President Trump will be tomorrow, Nevada, as you mentioned, Arizona, and North Carolina. Man, these are the states right there.
Very crucial. We are looking at Vice President Kamala Harris, who she will potentially select as her running mate. I would argue that person is probably coming from these states. This is becoming something that is a geographical battle, but also who can bring the most common sense to a ticket. And I actually am thinking, I love your thoughts on this, Matthew, but Senator Mark Kelly would be an interesting choice, simply if I'm putting myself in the Democrat shoes, because if you go to any of these different events, and I actually see them out at many summer festivals, but it's a group that wears shirts that says "Regulate Guns, Not Women," and they're confounding really two complicated issues into one. But Senator Kelly has pretty much built his Senate career on gun control and abortion. I wonder if she'll be able to tie that into her campaign and make it a more emotional campaign, simply because she has not delivered on policy.
Well, we know the Democrats want to run on issues like that, exactly, the Second Amendment and the abortion issue. We know that's going to be happening all the way through until the election. But your point before about Governor Shapiro, though, I think that she would be leaning more towards someone like that. He was the AG, I believe, there in the state of Pennsylvania before he became the governor. Also so-called tough on crime. But, at the end of the day, we know that President Trump, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, President Trump should be actually wrapping up his second term right now. So all of these headlines and all this stuff going on, man, it's tough to watch.
Well, it shows you how important your vote is, and President Trump has said it's part of the policy platform. Get out there, whether it's a mail-in, whether it's early, whether it's day of, get out there, make a plan to vote, because we need to make sure it happens regardless of how you choose to do it. And I just do hope, if that choice is Josh Shapiro, that you won't see the rise of anti-Semitism like you've seen in recent weeks and recent months, ever since the October 7th attack by Hamas on the Jewish people. And I live in a heavily Jewish area, and these are wonderful people. These are great neighbors and great friends. And I hope that would maybe make that side realize that, and maybe break bread with their friends and neighbors and not be so discriminatory, because we consistently see this. And I was just so happy to see that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu going from D.C. to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, and clearly they have a very positive relationship based on all the success that they had seen in 4 short years.
I mean, he is the peace through strength president. He is the people's president. We see that with President Donald Trump, and that's why the people love him. And the free world loves Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. The free world loves Viktor Orban, right? These are people that are standing for the people, right? They're not trying to make any dictatorial moves on the people like you might see right now with Maduro in Venezuela. So a lot going on out there. We were talking about those 7 swing states, Bobby. Why don't we talk about Missouri or Kansas or South Dakota? I mean, everybody still has to vote.
Oh, absolutely. And that's how, the media will portray this as the polls are the almighty, and anything these numbers are saying is solid gold. It's biblical truth. Frankly, if you look at a lot of these polling numbers, and some better than others, but clearly they were wrong in 2016. They were wrong when President Truman held up that Dewey defeats Truman, the famous Chicago Tribune photo. Clearly it did not go that way. But the problem is they will take regular voters, strong voters on both sides, and it'll be an average of, say, 1,300 voters or so. And they'll say that's the makeup of the entire nation in some cases. And that's why truly the one poll that works and that has the most weight is your vote in an election. Exactly.
And so I was speaking about Missouri there, and then President Trump's post here on Truth Social at 3:05 Central, so just 4:05, talked about Missouri. This is what I like about what President Trump does, and also his team. They go into the nitty-gritty of the states, and they talk to you about the different people there that are on point, right? So in this case, President Trump said Missouri has 2 highly respected candidates running for the important office of AG. And then he goes on to talking about the current AG there, and it goes on there. So I want to get the name here. I mean, it's a long post. We'll get to that in a second. But I mean, to that point. he's always sharing with the American people, hey, here's somebody that is doing the things correctly.
Right, and that shows you the care that he has for so many levels of government. And that's why I have to chuckle when I keep hearing that he's such a threat to democracy. That's what the other side is alleging. I believe that language, especially coming from President Biden, really negatively affected the mind of this individual who tried to take the life of President Trump. So we hear a lot about toning down the rhetoric. I think that mostly has to come from the left. And if he's such a threat to democracy, why does he care for so many of these individual candidates, these statewide candidates who can make such a big difference? Of course, you want to turn out an electoral process, but if this man was such a dictator, as the left says, then he's doing a pretty poor job at that.
Yeah, I mean, look what happened between 2016 and 2021. He was not making such moves. It was all about the genuine and authentic about the country, making America great again, and that's what he talks about. You hear that saying about if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and it is a duck. Well, we see that President Trump is a man of his word, and we see what's happening, and he wants to save this country, and that's what people are supporting him for, to bring freedom, to bring the Constitution here.
Oh, no question about it. Beautifully said. And we are live with shots coming in from Reno, Nevada, a beautiful what will be an afternoon. I'm sure it's pretty hot there, as it is hot here in Auburn, with Senator JD Vance speaking to the group there. I'm very interested to hear this speech, to hear more of the deeper proposals on the no tax on tips, and also, I'm sure, points that will be helpful for the future of the border and that agenda, which has been a hallmark for the Trump campaign.
Every time President Trump goes to Nevada, it's a very loud crowd. You can see the people there just having a good time, even though President Trump won't be at that particular event. Obviously, Senator JD Vance being the vice presidential nominee and the pick by President Trump, you can tell. Look at that. I mean, it says, make America great again. Reno, Nevada is the spot for this live coverage tonight at 7:30. We'll go to that as soon as he starts to speak. But if there are a pre-program with some speakers, we'll be going to that as well. So a lot to get to, of course. This week is even though it's kind of like getting right into August, right? It is the dog days of summer in some ways, but it is. Campaign is into high gear all over the country.
Oh, it really is. And we've seen that in our coverage. We've seen that with the press pools at these different events, that people are focused and ready to go and very engaged. And now that the Republican ticket is selected, we'll see what happens in Chicago with the Democrat National Convention beginning August 19th.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to see at the DNC how that's going to go. We know what we hear about Kamala Harris being the nominee, but will that be what happens there at the DNC? And
will Senator Manchin out of West Virginia, will he become a Democrat once again and try to seek that nomination? He seemed to be quiet in media circuits as of the last couple of days, but there's someone who clearly had shown interest in it. I'm also interested too. It seems that Senator Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., we were talking about Senator Kennedy of Louisiana just a few short moments ago, but Robert Kennedy, who is also continuing his independent campaign. Would he go back to the Democrats? Seemingly not. I think that's why he went the more independent route. What I'm curious by as well is, I'm actually surprised at this point that he may not just drop out and perhaps endorse President Trump, similar to what, Tulsi Gabbard has been a vocal supporter of President Trump now, even though she was a Bernie gal back just a few short years ago, but clearly for the future of the country has said these MAGA principles are what's better for America.
Exactly. I mean, the everyday Americans, right, that were so highlighted at the RNC. You think of this quote here from President Trump. He says, to all of the forgotten men and women who have been neglected, abandoned, left behind, You will be forgotten no longer. We will press forward, and together we will win, win, win. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will stop us. I can continue on that. Beautiful. I mean, these quotes, I mean, his speechwriters, but also that comes from his heart too, you know? And to have a president or have a leader of a nation to speak so eloquently, but also in connection with the people is quite awesome.
Really something extraordinary to see. If you haven't been to a MAGA rally or even seeing, you know, President Trump had some great engagements the last few days where he was at the Turning Point USA Believer Summit, encouraging Christians to be engaged not only in the culture, but also to go and vote. And then going to a Bitcoin conference and then up to a MAGA rally in Minnesota. 3 different crowds in a lot of ways, but speeches that really spoke to the heart. And what I was struck by with the Turning Point USA event was the idea that almost half of Christians in America just do not go vote. They don't engage in the political process. I was surprised by that.
I think what needs to happen is, and this is my opinion here, of course, and we'll see if you agree with me here, Bobby, but I think within church and within even the synagogues, I think that we should be talking about political situations or, you know, that kind of thing. Just kind of bring it together a little bit because it kind of connects in a lot of ways.
Oh, it really does. And just from personal experience, I've seen it discussed more, you know, in others versus some denominations. Some worry about their 501c3 status, but you know, this is really the time to, you have that First Amendment to speak to your congregation, especially pastors out there and faith leaders. This is not a time to be ashamed or to be afraid or to have a lukewarm approach to things. Of course, you want to have open charity to all who enter through your doors especially, but this is the time to defend the faith and to see where these policies are actually directly in line with the Bible and biblical principles.
Exactly, and that was some great reporting there too. I mean, the fact that you're in West Palm Beach, and it's always good to see people just seeking God together, and then President Trump going out there and sharing his heart with the American people. 7:30 will be when JD Vance takes the stage there in Reno, Nevada. So glad you're joining us, everyone. It's been quite the week already with the amount of news that's been happening. We'll get to that in a second, but we want to thank one of our friends at the Bright Core Revive. This is Revive Collagen. It actually accounts for 30% of your body's protein. So collagen accounts for 30%. I didn't know that number.
Oh, it seems very popular. I see it all over the place in Costco and other spots. But what I like about this Bright Core is it's made in the USA, and of course, great patriots who run this company. So I think I might have to switch my dosage over this direction.
Yeah, and to make your body great again.
Absolutely.
You know?
It's a good thing to do. You got to keep yourself. You know, that was the thing about COVID. They shut us down. The gyms, the churches. You need 3 wins every day. It's spiritual, it's physical, and something mental that will stimulate your brain. This does 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
You know, and a healthy body will help your mind to make you do better work, be a better, husband, father, be a better neighbor and a friend. So go to 888-652-4131 or mybrightcore.com/revive. You can save up to 50% with this RSBN special.
So it says collagen accounts for that 30% of your body's protein, providing support to skin, muscles, bones, connective tissues, biotin, again, made in the USA, and all these health benefits. I mean, the list goes on here. So 888-652-4131 is the number for this great product there. Bright Core, make your body great again. Now, you were touching on some great points there, too. You're saying spiritually, physically, and, emotionally, mentally. And what a time now, Bobby. With all the things going on in our country, it's obviously very difficult, because of what we're seeing. So some of the ways, it seems that people are kind of getting through it would be through prayer or meditation or just kind of breathing exercises, right? Because there could be a lot that triggers a lot of people out there.
It's good to have that balance. And of course, we're so happy you're tuning in and getting all this wall-to-wall, back-to-back coverage. It's nice to take that break, though, enjoy the beautiful summer months especially, even though it's a little bit hot everywhere. Go out there, get that walk in, get that workout in. It's something that I just have to do in my own life to have that clear mind. And it just makes my day go better. Whether it's getting up a a little bit earlier or even squeezing it in later in the evening, it'll make the world of difference, and it's something I like to encourage friends and family to do.
I mean, you look at it, you see President Trump, I mean, he goes and he golfs, and that's okay. That's what he wants to do, right? Or he might visit, at Mar-a-Lago, say there's a wedding or something. Like, he keeps it light still within the framework of how serious of a situation we are facing in our country.
Very important, because you just don't want to get burned out no matter what kind of work you do. And it kind of harkens back to me. I've adopted the Eisenhower model. I don't know if you've heard about it before, but it's basically 4 boxes of what needs to be done now, what can wait another week, what can wait a month, what can wait potentially in a year. It's a good way to compartmentalize and figure out what's most vital and what is most important, and just to help you hit your goals and to help you get through what are difficult times. And distractions are going to happen. This Biden inflation is affecting everyone, and I've noticed it too. And I've mentioned I'm a big fan of Costco, but that's where I go for my gas. This poor guy was filling up his truck, and he was just shaking his head. And I thought maybe he just has a few young kids at home. Maybe he's thinking, how am I going to put groceries on the table? And everyone's just feeling that right now. So remain united, pray together, be involved in the community, but also make sure you have that self-care. It goes such a long way for not only you, but your family.
Well, I guarantee you guys, you probably didn't think we were going to be talking about self-care for a while here, but hey, you never know in the sense of, some of the areas. I mean, we just want to be real with you, and that's why we're doing this, because we are genuine people. We genuinely care about our country, and we wouldn't be talking about this stuff in conservative media if it wasn't the case.
Oh, 110%, Matthew. It's vital for the restoration of the republic, and it's exciting to see the positivity as we've been out there. I've had a blast on the road. You're the true road warrior with Mr. Producer going miles and miles and miles all the way up to Grand Rapids. But what's exciting about all these rallies, the commonality is the genuine nature, the generosity of the American people. It was another hot one in Charlotte just a week ago, and Nikki Stanzione and I noticed that this gentleman, former Marine, running up and down the line, making sure everyone had enough water. And that's another thing you have to do, make sure you're healthy and eating enough, drinking enough water when you go to the rallies, because you're waiting, in long lines, and sometimes it's hot, and people do occasionally just have a moment and might need the ER. So
yeah, definitely. And then so tomorrow, Paul Ingrassia and Nikki Stanzione will be live there in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for Rally Day in that swing state. Obviously, going to be a packed house. I believe it is at the Farm Show Complex, where I actually was live there at an NRA event when President Trump was speaking there. Right. It's an older arena, but a beautiful arena, a very loud arena. And we'll see. And look at that, the little kid there just missed it, wearing the MAGA hat. But it's always good. It's a family environment, when you go there. And you're talking about the people just being like kind of in good spirits, right? And I think that's what we have. These are great people that want to see our country continue with the Constitution as the law of the land.
And that's what our founders spoke on. It will only last with an informed electorate. And it's exciting to see people engaged, and people who did not necessarily have themselves involved in politics for years and years, really just from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds, enjoying these MAGA rallies, and a great place to make new friends and to potentially meet some neighbors.
Exactly. And I was just going to say, my wife and I are about to have, she's going to have the baby in October. I want one of those MAGA hats for the baby. That'd be kind of cool. So anyway. All right, so 7:30, JD Vance, of course, will be speaking there in Reno, Nevada. It is about 6:21 Eastern Standard Time. So we are here at the Right Side Broadcasting Network studios. So glad you're joining us. Of course, we were talking about how gorgeous it is out there in Reno, Nevada and Lake Tahoe area. 6 electoral votes up for grabs. And, the people there in Nevada, wherever you travel, it's in droves. These are people waiting outside for hours and hours. I mean, how early have you seen it when people get there?
So we'll usually, gosh, I'm just thinking about Charlotte. We got there around 9 o'clock, and it was a long line already. And so usually it's around those 6, 7 in the morning. It depends on the time of the event. If it's an early evening event, that might have a difference. But speaking to people in line, they get there as early as they can. So right at the sunrise, and we'll wait there just to get a great seat. And it's an experience to say the least.
It totally is. Let's go shift to the GOP platform, those 20 promises that, if you remember at the RNC convention, right? Bobby and I were in studio, Vanessa Broussard and I as well, but we were talking about all of those awesome promises, right?
Absolutely.
This would really restore what we need in this country, wouldn't it? I mean,
exactly.
how about this? Let's just have a game here with Bobby real quick. Can you name as many GOP platform promises without looking at the so we're not going to look at the notes.
I'm not looking at.
So you list one, then I'll list one, and we'll just go until we can't go anymore. All right.
Well, there was the first and foremost, securing the southern border.
Right.
Making sure that's safe and that we don't have the mass illegal immigration taking place.
Right. I'm just scrolling. I don't even have them on my notes there, and I'm glad I don't. I was just going to get there for after when we're done. We could kind of look at them. So seal the border. The number 2, I believe, was having a massive deportation operation for our country. Obviously, if someone comes here illegally, that's against the law. So we don't know where these people are coming from. So that would be number 2. Let's see. We don't have to go in order. Whatever.
No, let's go. I think towards the bottom, it's keeping men out of women's sports.
Okay.
Another big highlight, and we've seen that. I've noticed that in the last few policy speeches for President Trump, he'll really highlight on defending women's sports and making that one of the biggest policies for the Trump administration.
I think number 7 is defend the Constitution, defending the Bill of Rights, of course, our freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and then also the right to protect and to bear arms as well. So that would be number 7.
Somewhere in the middle, if I'm recalling, it's making America wealthy again. It's fighting the stagnation, the bad inflation, and really clearing up. AFPI has really pushed away the rumor that President Trump caused all of this inflation, and that it really was from the extra COVID spending. Ironically, Larry Summers, who was Bill Clinton and Barack Obama's one of their financial advisors in the cabinet, and he said, if you pass this extra COVID legislation, you're going to cause the inflation to skyrocket and a recession, if not a depression. So that's interesting and he's been more vocal about that lately as well.
Exactly. And then another one I would think of would be making America energy independent again, right?
Absolutely.
That's one of them in there. Go ahead, Bobby, scroll through these notes here, because if people were watching it all, they might have seen me scrolling through. I'm actually looking for the 20 promises just so we can refer to them at the end. But I can't find them anywhere on that. So I don't
have them up myself.
Yeah, so they're not even on. I have to go to the other page, probably on my notes here on the iPad. But the 20 promises, really, yeah. I mean, this is just memory here. I mean,
right.
And you see there, it does say Agenda 47, and that is interesting because Agenda 47's been around for a minute, and then the GOP platform kind of melts into that, or combines into that.
Right, absolutely, and it's such an interesting platform because it was 16 or so pages. It wasn't nearly 100 or even 200 like before, and I think the biggest part of that was the president took out the lobbyists, took out the lawyers, did not put them into the mix like Republican platforms have been in the past.
Right.
And it's more of mirroring what had happened in the first administration.
Right.
So an interesting time that they put this all together. I'm going to try to bring this
up. I got it here for you. DonaldJTrump.com. I mean, at the end of the day, that's where the 20 platform promises are, and it's right there. So there we go. So we were right. We had seal the border and stop the migrant invasion, number 1. Number 2 is carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Number 3, I think you touched on inflation, right?
Right, inflation.
And then number 4, make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. So if you do want to take a look at the 20 platform promises, you can go to RSBN as well. You could also, instead of Google search, I start to say now, it's kind of long, but DuckDuckGo search. So go DuckDuckGo search it. But it's definitely awesome to see these promises for the American people. And this would be installed, and none of this here has anything to do with violence or anything that the left is trying to say that this is about. So
well, look at number 8, to prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and the Middle East. It's so interesting that even Hillary Clinton said he'd start a war with North Korea. That wasn't the case. He ended wars. There were no new wars started in the Trump administration, and I think that's quite a highlight for his administration.
Exactly. And we're going to get to one of our sponsors there. Director, if you can repeat, please. All right, Birch Gold Group. All you got to do is text Trump to 989898. Bobby, these BRICS nations, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and there's all these other ones too, trying to use their dollar, right, their local currency, to devalue ours. They're just trying to give it to the American people.
No question. And again, this is a change in foreign policy from the Nixon administration, where we had the gold standard that was changed to the petrodollar in order to trade with the Saudi Arabians, and they are really afraid of what the Biden administration has done to global currency, to global markets. So the Saudis have looked elsewhere, and other countries are taking advantage of this. So very smart if you're looking to convert your 401k or your IRA to tangible, solid gold, precious metals, silver. This is a great info kit that we have here, endorsed by Stephen Bannon, Ron Paul, Dan Bongino, along with other MAGA patriots. And it's very simple to get this information. Text Trump to 989898. That is Trump to 989898.
Yep, and you're referring to that kit, and here it is right here in the studio as we have the 2024 Birch Gold Info Kit. So you can get a digital copy as well by texting Trump to 989898. Do you collect any kind of coins or anything?
You know, my uncle, who he passed a decade ago, wonderful man. We talked a lot about history and shared that commonality. And actually, I thought he was a little bit out there with certain opinions, but he'd love to see this movement, because this was what he was all about. The middle class, common sense, American history being defended. And he was really right about what was the Republican Party of the Bushes and the Romneys, the Cheneys, the McCains, who were all deep state globalists, quite frankly, and very sadly did not put America first like President Trump and the MAGA policies are. So he would have loved to see this moment. He loved collecting coins. And fortunately, I do have a few of them, but it's another hobby I would like to get into. He really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, it's a great hobby. It's awesome to see some, like, also historic, artifacts, that kind of thing of anything. I mean, in Gettysburg, PA, there's a number of stores there that you can just see all kinds of artifact there.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but yeah, I mean, our country, of course, 248 years young at this point.
Young, absolutely. And a constitutional republic, if you can keep it, as Dr. Franklin told the gentleman asking him when they had exited Independence Hall after signing the Constitution. It's something I really, really reflect on. Senator Cruz mentioned it recently that the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists were still around today. They had secured a Constitution, but the Anti-Federalists said, hold on, we need a Bill of Rights. And the Federalists at the time said, not necessary, this is good enough. He actually wrote in his dissertation at Harvard that both groups would agree with what's happened today, that Bill of Rights has been essential to the continuation of this 248 years of liberty, difficulties at times, but we can always go back to our pocket constitutions, which I have in my bag. I'm sure you have yours with you as well. How important you have pulled that out there.
Of course.
I have mine a bit off camera, but it's so important to us and how we continue to have these liberties to this day. Gotta get yourself one of those.
Yeah, this is awesome to have the Constitution of the United States right here. Bobby has one of these. I have one of these as well. All of the history, and I know you consider yourself a history buff, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I mean, it is wonderful to learn about, obviously, what happened in our country, and to be honest, and I've shared this with our viewers before. You go through when you're teen in your 20s and you're playing sports or whatever you're involved in, and you might not dive into things like history or all of the details of our country, because things are so good, right?
Right.
Think about it, right? I was born in 81. You go all the way through into the 90s and early 2000s, and then of course 9/11 hits. And that wakes you up.
Oh, it does.
And you see, and I remember being glued to watching some of the cable news that day, and now we fast forward to 2024, and it's like so much information coming at us at this point, and we care more than ever. Some people might have cared a lot then, but they weren't dealing with what we're dealing with now.
Well, and I think for you, and I'm not too far behind, but I think we want to, in our own roles in this, just help restore what was that nostalgic beauty of America.
Right.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to actually go back and watch Forrest Gump recently, and The Sandlot, and different films, but the nostalgia surrounding big historical moments, in the 60s, the Vietnam War, those eras, similar times in America, although different stories. And what really struck me about both films is that an individual can make an extraordinary difference in their community and with whatever they do, whatever vocation they choose to pursue, whatever they choose to pursue in life. And with any limits they might have as well, they can make a major difference, sometimes not even knowing. And I get a kick out of that when he's on the bench and he said, well, I went to see the president again, the White House again. Like it was a regular thing, but we could do that as Americans where it's not necessarily true across the world.
Yeah, exactly. So there are a number of interviews that we have lined up for tomorrow as well that will air during our coverage in Chicago and then in Harrisburg, PA. We spoke with Linda McMahon, the chair of the America First Policy Institute, and also Steve Stern, the CEO of Flag Shirts, and also working with PrecinctStrategy.com. So we'll get to that tomorrow. Tonight, we may be able to pull up one of the JD Vance sound bites from his speech in Minnesota just the other day. What a powerful speech that was.
It really was. It was an enjoyable rally. It seems as when they're together, it's even more energetic. Even though these solo experiences have been quite good for the campaign as a whole, when the president and vice presidential nominee JD Vance, Senator JD Vance, are together, it seems to be even more electrifying.
Yeah, it's powerful. And when the senator announces for President Trump to come on out, I mean, the place just goes wild. So again, we're looking at 6 electoral votes up for grabs in the state of Nevada, the Silver State. You've been out there a couple times or not yet?
Been out there a couple of times.
Okay.
It's mostly through airports, actually.
Yeah.
It's actually, I've been to Las Vegas, but just the airport, so I haven't enjoyed going onto the Strip, and maybe perhaps something that I have to do at some point. And it might be even better during a President Trump administration, since he will not be taxing servers. No tax on tips. It's a big initiative, and we see it in the platform number 6 here. But that would be something that will really spur Nevada's economy.
And also, to your point, law and order. I mean, going into these cities, right? You want to go to Washington maybe and see some of these great memorials and see the White House, right? Or you might want to go to a Broadway show in New York or go out in LA or San Diego or Seattle. But oh man, it's we need the law and order back.
Oh, we really do, because that's what's going to. 2 things are really going to harm tourism. It's unsafe cities, along with seemingly the unclean cities as a result.
Right.
But then the inflation. Folks are just not going to go out and spend their money in certain areas. And this, I think, of all the states that this 6th promise policy point will affect the greatest, arguably Nevada, since it's so service-based, so entertainment and tourism-based. I think it will perk up the ears of many people who may not have been looking at even voting in an election.
Exactly. No tax on tips. Vote President Trump 2024, right? There's this Truth Social account that I just started following just the other day. And it's based in the state of Washington. Now, you think of Washington, you think of the Northwest, you think of Seattle, you think of rain, you think of the Space Needle, all this stuff. But this group's called Patriots United WA. So it's Patriots United Washington is their handle. And I looked through these guys' posts, and they are on point. Isn't it interesting that even in places that might not get talked about a lot, right?
Right.
You think, oh, no, that's just going to be a liberal blue state. No, you know what? There are patriots everywhere.
Well, and I think this is all part of this platform really represents a 50-state solution that many people can jump on and become interested in. And Washington and Oregon are very similar, I would say, to what I experienced having been grown up in the Chicago area, where you have a city that really dominates the rest of the state. It's a heavy population center, and for the Chicago area, over 85% of the state lives in Cook County and the Collier counties. Something similar in Seattle, and especially with Portland in Oregon. And these other areas of the state really are very conservative or are more in line with President Trump, and they just don't have the representation that one would have, say, in another state.
All right, so we're going to get to some of the speech where JD Vance was speaking in Minnesota in just a second, but to the point of the state of Washington, Joe Kent recently got the endorsement from President Trump as well. So President Trump just 2 days ago saying Joe Kent, a great American hero who paid a very big price in fighting for our country, is running to represent the incredible people of Washington's 3rd CD, the congressional district. President Trump says, of course, that he won twice and look forward to easily winning a 3rd time. Joe, it says here, is a Gold Star husband who bravely served our country as a Special Forces combat veteran.
Right, he's an exciting candidate. I believe this is his 2nd time going for this, and someone who is unafraid to really poke the beehive of those Republicans and Democrats who are in the deep state and very establishment type folks. So Joe Kent, an exciting candidate who may be able to get over that hurdle, and an outsider who is aligning himself with President Trump.
I love the word outsider, Bobby. I mean, that's what President Trump is, and that's what the people want, because the days of the elitist, away from the people, and
Right.
we love the outsider approach, and some of the various quotes that President Trump has shared. So we do have a clip 1 from JD Vance's speech in Minnesota, and I do believe this is all about the Electoral College in the sense of having the United States the color red.
Preserve that American dream for the next generation. If we want to build upon it, then we have got to win this election. We have got to bring the people's president back. That's President Donald J. Trump, and we're going to do everything we can to get him elected in November. And we're going to do it together. We're going to turn Minnesota red. We're going to turn this whole country red with President Donald J. Trump's leadership.
Yeah, I've enjoyed Senator Vance and the way he's really mirrored off of President Trump's style. Of course, no two, dare I say, politicians are the same, because really these are two public servants. And what I am most struck by in the last couple of days is Kamala Harris's criticism of JD Vance and the fact that he once served people. He wouldn't put America first because he was or would be the vice president of President Donald Trump. And I believe we do have that clip of him talking about his military service and rebuking Vice President Kamala Harris's comments.
Harris questioned my loyalty to this country. That's the word she used, loyalty. And it's an interesting word, simplify, loyalty, because there is no greater sign of disloyalty to this country than what Kamala Harris has done at our southern border. And I'd like to ask the Vice President, what has she done to question my loyalty to this country? I served in the United States Marine Corps. I went to Iraq for this country. I built a business for this country. And my running mate took a bullet for this country. So my question to Kamala Harris is, what the hell have you done to question our loyalty to the United States of America?
So as you saw in the top right corner of your screen there, that was from the Minnesota rally there. Of course, fired up Senator Vance there talking about loyalty. And we know President Trump loves loyalty. Who doesn't love loyalty, right?
It's the most important thing to me. There's no question about that. And even, I know some of the history of those Chicago Democrats, some of them who were indicted under Richard M. Daley's tenure as Chicago mayor, they would go up on that stand and wouldn't necessarily agree with them as to why they were there, but they wouldn't say anything. They were loyal. Loyalty does go a long way, and this is clearly someone, Senator JD Vance, who has been deeply, deeply loyal to his country, and it's really a shame when that attack is launched on President Trump and on Senator Vance that somehow they're disloyal. I don't think they would be doing what they're doing if they were disloyal people. You have to love this country beyond measure in order to put yourself in a position like this.
100%, exactly right. So we were seeing some statistics as well. Before we get to those, Director, if you could please repeat on the next sponsor. So with the Birch Gold Group, of course, all you have to do is text Trump to 989898. You can get this great 2024 Birch Gold Info Kit in the mail, or you can get one digitally by going to Trump to 989898. So text Trump to 989898. Get a lot of information on gold, silver, and precious metals.
It's just so important right now because the petrodollar really no longer exists. It was the world's reserve currency. Now it's been deeply weakened by the Biden administration. Saudi Arabia no longer trading the dollar as the world's reserve currency, rather going to these other nations. So convert your 401k or IRA, if necessary, into tangible metals, gold and silver, making sure that your family stays financially secure and sound.
Text Trump to 989898. So Kamala Harris and the Democrats' pro-criminal and open border policies are obviously wreaking havoc in the state of Nevada as well. We're told as a result, the number of overdose deaths in Nevada has grown by 46.7% since 2019.
Oh, it's so sad. I saw a Team Trump new ad that said over 250,000 Americans have died of fentanyl. And you have to understand in these situations, it's not necessarily people who are bad or misbehaving. In a number of these situations, they are simply poisoned. They're taking a pill like Ritalin, for example, or something that you could get over the counter, perhaps from a friend, from a fellow student, especially so many young, beautiful souls who have passed because of this issue. And it's clear, we know this for a fact, that China is trafficking this through the southern border. The drug lords who control that border are selling it, and they could care less who it harms, who it kills. And the sad thing is, it's less than a milligram, if that's airborne, can kill a human being. A very, very scary time.
Exactly. And so I guess that there are doses of Narcan that's actually sold over the counter, right?
Right. And you're seeing this now being provided more to different sheriff's office, different police officers throughout the country. Has been more of an issue that seemingly should be bipartisan. Unfortunately, there are a number of Republican and Democrat sheriffs working on this throughout the country, but still seemingly pushback from Washington Democrats who, when you hear them in these hearings, that, oh, this is not happening, this is a farce, et cetera, et cetera. Really kind of amazing considering just the data we have on this. And again, our current borders are, the Vice President, Kamala Harris, has failed on working on this and even the tiniest remote of iotas. It's really a horrible failure on the part of the Biden administration.
100%. As we're taking that live look there, you saw all the people holding up their signs in Reno, Nevada. We'll be going back out there live with any speakers prior to the Ohio Senator and Vice Presidential Nominee JD Vance. Of course, you see it there. He'll be speaking at 7:30 p.m. So 9.9 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border since Harris and Biden took office. Unbelievable number. 9.9 million, that's more than what? New York City, easily.
Oh, absolutely. I
right?
mean, our largest city in the country.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's, I think the population, the metro area is, the metro area outside of the 5 boroughs plus the boroughs is about 12 million. So we're looking at 7 to 8 million people are in the boroughs. Wow. Can you believe that amount of people live in that such a small area?
It is something that, I don't know the last time you were there, but when I was there, it was actually more towards the height of COVID. So this was January of 2021, visiting some friends. And it was really, even though a lot of people were staying in, it was still pretty cramped. It's not for the lighthearted to be a New Yorker, that's for sure.
No, definitely. And I was there in the Bronx when President Trump visited up there a few months back. A great crowd there of patriots. And it's awesome to see people from all walks of life sporting MAGA gear.
Right, it really is, and we're seeing it in these city centers now, and that's an exciting thing to see how that might change the tide. We had spoken that the Mid-Atlantic states, along with the Midwestern states, the Rust Belt, clearly that is the main bread and butter for the Trump campaign as they pursue to be reelected. But it seems as if these cities as well are very interested in the Republican ticket for the first time in many years.
Can you believe that President Trump will be in the city of Chicago tomorrow, the city of Atlanta on Saturday, Harrisburg, PA tomorrow as well? I mean, this is just going so against the false narrative, right? The false narrative says only this type of people like President Trump. That's not the truth.
Right, and we saw from the Bronx rally too, just a few weeks ago, how many people showed up for that. So this is a 50-state solution. These 20 platform pieces that the MAGA populist movement has put together, that President Trump really wanted to be a highlight of not only the convention, but a platform for people to understand who may not be very political or ideological. And he's mentioned recently as well too that, look, this is not solely a Republican or Democrat thing. It really isn't ideological. It's just common sense. And that clearly is highlighting how he's moving forward as a presidential candidate.
Looking more at some of these statistics here, this from the Palm Beach Playbook. Since Harris and Biden took office, roughly 31 tons of fentanyl have crossed the southern border, enough to kill roughly 14.1 million people. Experts say only 5 to 10% of the drugs crossing the border are being intercepted. You know, these Border Patrol agents, they want to do their job.
Well, they really do. And we have to untie their hands. You know, Brandon Judd, Nikki Sanzione was fortunate enough to interview him when we were both in Charlotte. And then he also took the stage, President Trump inviting him up there. And he has talked about the National Border Patrol Council, who very quickly rebuked President Biden on the stage during the debate on June 27th, saying that he had the full endorsement of Border Patrol, and Brandon Judd and company saying, no, you do not. And Brandon Judd's an interesting professional because he's another one, worked for President Obama, praised President Biden for his deportation initiatives, and then also saying that President Trump was the greatest president in his tenure, and he had worked for, I believe it's been 5 presidents when it comes to national security and securing that border. So, you know, take the opinions from the professionals.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Harris, it says here, has long opposed measures to increase border security, supports sanctuary cities, believes in, quote, starting from scratch with ICE, immigration, customs enforcement, of course. This April, a staff member of Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto was killed when he was struck in a hit and run by an illegal alien who crossed the border in March of 2021. Wow. I mean, the terrible stories continue. And I was looking, kind of reflecting earlier today, and I was looking at the map of the United States, right? It was up on our wall. And I was just thinking, man, they are really trying to just destroy this country in every part and parcel. They're just trying to, in every way, and I know I'm preaching the choir on that, Bobby, but it's just wild to see.
It is wild to see, and you know, I think we're at one point in our country where even though there's been historical differences between the parties and how to arrive at a solution, you could point to people over the years and even in recent history who maybe wanted the best for America. And right now that just does not seem to be the case. There seems to be a Washington, D.C. of bureaucrats who may take on either an R or a D next to their name, who seem to only care about their power and lasting as long as humanly possible. The one that really stands out to me right now is Christopher Wray, based on that testimony. That was extraordinary. I think personally he should resign. We had the Director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, resign as a result of her testimony or lack thereof. And Christopher Wray, again, saying that it could have been glass or shrapnel that hit the president. It's almost as if he's mocking the intelligence of not only the elected congressmen and women on the Hill, but directly to the American people. I mean, these people don't think that you're smart enough to make decisions not only for yourself, but the people you choose to elect.
And on top of that, then you look at the left-wing media and then big tech, again, rearing their ugly head when it comes to the entire involvement with the Butler shooting in the sense of not being a bullet or, that kind of thing. I mean, it's just ridiculous to see that, but we're seeing through it. So thank God for Truth Social and thank God for conservative media. And for those of you that do watch on X and Facebook, great. We're glad to have you, whether you're conservative or Democrat. And to that point, I want to bring up from what we talked about earlier. For those of you just joining us, we look at our country right now, and the left-wing media has such a big megaphone, right? And they keep trying to talk to us and tell us this is the way it is, and all Democrats feel this way. Well, I know, and I've used to work with some Democrats back in the day in the sense of in the mainstream media. Though their mind might be a little bit warped on some things, they're good-hearted people out there. It's not as extreme as this left-wing media is making it out to be. And it's just a megaphone on the left.
And that's why you really can't equate that if you have a neighbor who votes a certain way, worth talking to them. I think it's very different. There's miles and miles between Democrat voters and who they may vote to elect. And in some cases, that's true, too, of Republicans, where they have elected officials who are really not in line with what they believe. And, sadly, Washington has a way of doing that to people. Clearly, it's just emboldened President Trump and Senator Vance to continue the populist fight. But so much of this, even though it looks like it's a Republican versus Democrat narrative, and in many ways the parties are very different, this is more of common sense populist conservatism versus a globalist elite bureaucratic class that happens to be based in a swamp in Washington, D.C. And, I just really got a kick out of, too. One of the promises here is 11, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. And I would love to see that because we have some beautiful cities, centers of trade in our country that need to be great again.
Yeah, they do. They do. And I was thinking about, along your point of the elitists and globalists, that kind of thing, the woke mind virus that is just circulating throughout the country in some areas. You look at the Olympics the other day. You look at some other countries, too. So, I'm not being soft on Democrats in the sense of, they're good-hearted. There's some good-hearted people out there. I would just plead that, join a movement that is common sense, that really loves this country and loves freedom. We don't want anything like what's going on in Venezuela right now. We don't want anything like that. We want just what we've had for decades, right?
Right.
Freedom and this Constitution, and I'll say it again.
Right. There's a lot of common sense there, and actually, I might have to pull this up on my phone too because I'm trying to figure this out. And we had not spoke previously regarding just everything happening with the Olympics and the mockery of the Last Supper. But let's see if I can find it here. So, someone posted. I was just noticing on Facebook, and that's another thing too. Even though you have suppression by these other platforms, go and use them. They are free. We want to share information and find out what's actually happening out there. That's really the blessing of living in 2024 is we have so many platforms to do that. But someone said there was extra information, and I'll show you this here, that it wasn't the Last Supper, but the Feast of the Gods, painted by Jan Harmens. This is between 1635, 1640, but saying that these actors were not Jesus and the apostles, but Apollon, Dionysus, other pagan gods. And while it does look similar, I looked back at what was happening at the Olympics, and it really looked like they were trying to invoke almost a black mass or a rejection of Jesus Christ and his apostles, just in my view.
Yeah, and then I think that the Olympics committee has actually come out and apologized for all of this mishap.
Right.
Bobby, we both like sports, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I want to go and see a Braves game. I want to go see the Falcons play. I want to see, the Tigers play in Auburn, or whatever. But I don't want to watch the Olympics. Right. But that made me just so turned off from it. I mean, we've got enough going on, of course, everybody, as you know, with the political news and the 24/7 news cycle. So that does take up a lot of time when we are, professionally, right? But personally, you'd want to watch some of the Olympics. I like watching some sports. But this year, I don't, though.
Oh, I feel the same way. I turned it off myself. And it's sad because I do feel bad for the athletes.
Yeah.
And I feel bad that they are missing out on this chance of people to see them because they dedicate their lives so deeply to this.
Right.
4 years and to move, speaking on the health of the mind, body, and soul, what they show the point of where the human body can reach. And I think mostly because of the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual, but to train your body to do something so incredible. It's incredible to marvel at, and it does ultimately lead to world peace. Just very sad that you had that transpire, and to really not only mock the core of the Christian religion, but to mock true beauty and true art. It's really a shame, and I hope that they reconsider those things in the future. And it really is, because it's such a vibrant display for the French culture. I mean, they're surfing in Tahiti. You have equestrian races that are actually at Versailles. So what a showcase that could have happened, that I think that has fallen extremely flat, and I hope the committee reconsiders. Also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I did turn it off as a result, the Russian Federation, I think, has been banned completely from the games. So there's another situation of where the athletes have to pay the price for decisions of governments and public policy, folks.
Let's go to Reno, Nevada right now.
I'm very humbled to have this honor, and I thank each and every one of you for being here and participating in the affairs of our country. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have given us, and we ask that you would continue to bless us as we set about the work that you have laid before us. Dear Lord, we see your hand in all that we do, just as you have guided this great country from its beginning. We recognize the divine intervention that has been there at every crisis this country has overcome. Father God, we find ourselves at another critical juncture. There are those that wish to destroy what you have created. And we beseech you, Lord, to guide the hearts of our future president and vice president, that they may be your instruments to carry out your will. We ask, Lord, that you would use each one of us here for that same purpose. We know from your word, Lord, that if we humble ourselves and pray, then you will heal our land. We stand on your promise and humbly pray for healing. We also ask, Lord, that you would continue to protect your servants and keep them safe from those that would do evil. We thank you once again for this day, for the opportunity to demonstrate our devotion to you, and for putting in place the right people at the right time. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome State Senator Lisa Krasner to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with all of you today. Thank you for being here. I am Nevada State Senator Lisa Krasner, and I hope you will please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the Route 66 Band, Rhonda Shen, to sing our national anthem.
What an honor it is to be here today. And many of us have sung the national anthem at various events throughout our lives. But how many of you know the true meaning of where those words came from? I'm going to take you back to September 1814. Two young attorneys were dispatched by President Madison on a mission to Baltimore to negotiate the release of a prominent surgeon. September 7th, they boarded the British ship Tonant. There they dined and secured that prisoner's release, but under one condition. They couldn't go until after the British had attacked Baltimore. Accompanied by British guards on September 10th, they returned to the American ship, from which they witnessed the bombardment behind the 50-ship British fleet. Fort McHenry withstood 24 hours of British bombardment. While those men watched helplessly, on the morning of the 16th, one of them looked to the land to see which flag had been hoisted over Fort McHenry. He took out a scratch of paper, and that's when Francis Scott Key began writing these words. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly seeming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former state senator and faith leader, Maurice Washington.
Well, I want to tell VP Harris that I'm not a white man. But I want to tell you why I am on the Trump JD Vance train. I can tell you it's because of inflation or energy or housing, or maybe education, but I have something that is really deep down in my heart. I'm on this train because of three reasons. One, I want them to protect my right to serve my living God and to serve the Lord Jesus Christ. Two, I want them to protect my rights to raise my own children and protect my own family. I want them to know that I'm a man and I don't want handouts. I don't want free stuff. Protect my freedom to be what I want to be, when I want to be it, and how I want to become it, because I want to live free in this country. I am on the Trump JD Vance train.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nevada State Senator Ira Hansen.
I guess I should start out by saying I am not a black man, since Maurice and I have been friends for many years. He's one of my mentors in politics. All right, let's get down to it, though. That is a tough speech to follow. Maurice is a tremendous preacher. He is. He's actually a preacher. He's a great state senator, too. All right, Tucker Carlson, who in my opinion is the greatest journalist in America right now. When JD Vance was announced as the vice president, pointed out a very important thing. I, frankly, don't know a whole lot about JD Vance, but what Carlson pointed out is you learn a lot about somebody by who their enemies are. And immediately, this man was attacked viciously. Now, if in fact the left liked the selection that Trump picked, they wouldn't say anything about it. Now they're trying to disparage him constantly. How many of you, and I went and read Hillbilly Elegy, very interesting. I mean, everybody wants a mamaw in their life, right? If you read the book. They've been attacking him pretty mercilessly. One of the more interesting ones to me is they're reporting that he is 5'7". Now, I don't know if you noticed or not, but I'm 5'8", so I'm a little sensitive on the short stuff. When you see the man, though, he's actually, I think, about 6'2". He stands almost eyeball to eyeball to President Trump. And when I spoke at Trump's rally back in December here in this building, I got to get a picture of Donald Trump. He's about 4 or 5 inches taller than me at least. So, and when I looked at those two, but again, they're disparaging everything they can think of about the guy, down to trying to make him a short guy like me. So, whatever. Now, there's a pattern in that, though. For those of you who remember when Barack Obama attacked you, when he talked about people clinging to their guns and religion. Remember that? Then Hillary came out and we became the deplorables. Now, by the way, in politics, it's a dumb idea to make fun of lots of voters, but they did. Now, what is the current attack? We are weirdos. You heard that? JD Vance is a weirdo. So my wife and I, by the way, it's Assemblywoman Hansen sitting over here, wave on. My wife and I are thinking, okay, what do we talk about? And she said, why don't we talk about what's weird that they do? And it didn't take long. First weird thing, encouraging men to participate in women's sports is weird. Sniffing women's hair is weird. Having a cabinet-level position holder steal luggage at the airport is weird. Right? The list goes on. Blaming Donald Trump for 9% inflation after everybody points out that's a lie and continuing to do it, that's weird. Totally destroying the American industries that produce energy in this country to where we again have $5 a gallon gasoline, and then blaming them for that is weird. Destroying at our border, Donald Trump put a whole bunch of barriers to prevent illegal immigration into our country. The Biden administration at the very beginning went and removed all those barriers, and then who did they blame when they had a massive influx of illegal immigrants? Donald Trump. That's weird, okay? That's very strange. Another big one. We did briefly under Trump, we actually had the American manufacturing section grow again. For those of us that are older like me, remember a term called the arsenal of democracy? And now we have the Rust Belt. And Donald Trump, in his presidency, was significantly reducing that by putting tariffs on imported goods, especially from cheap labor China. Now we're back to having endless imports, and we have the Rust Belt once again. And where is JD Vance from? Why is he such a threat to the Democratic Party? It's pretty obvious why. He is from the Rust Belt. He's a common person. If you read Hillbilly Elegy, look, it is true, he graduated from Yale, and that is to me a red flag. That makes me nervous. But when you see his background, he's one of us. He's going to appeal to the average voter in the United States. Therefore, he is a threat. And so they're viciously attacking him constantly. Yet, just a little while ago, he didn't even know what his name is. Now he's like being demonized. So that's a very good sign. When your opponents are that threatened by you, you know that Senator JD Vance is a great addition to the Donald Trump team. And so, if anybody calls you a weirdo, just remind them, people that wear vagina hats at a women's rally, you're kind of weird, okay? I'm sorry. So, you're not the one to be telling us who weirdos are. You're the weirdos, okay? And I'm going to say one thing kind of vulgar, pardon me. I am, if you don't know, even though I'm in a nice suit, I'm actually a plumber, high school graduate plumber. And my plumbers like Mama, the F word is kind of frequent. But in my opinion, the Democratic Party is currently being run by people that are flat out batshit crazy. Let's vote for Donald Trump. Let's vote for JD Vance. Stand up for America. Make America great again. Thank you.
Well, you are looking live there in Reno, Nevada, as we await Senator Vance of Ohio to speak at 7:30. Of course, the vice presidential nominee and the pick for President Donald Trump.
And it's very fun hearing from local state senators, state reps, those in the community who are working blood, sweat, and tears to make sure that they keep their communities on the populist side of things. So I had two very fun speeches coming out there from the pastor and local politicians.
Always good to see that with the pre-programs as well. We're waiting again for JD Vance to speak at 7:30 Eastern. So we'll get to that in a second. First, let's talk about the Tax Network USA. Of course, if there are any issues with filing taxes at all or any assistance that you need, all you have to do is work with Tax Network USA. You can see that number on your screen there, 800-357-1415. always good to have that financial peace of mind moving forward.
And no question, under the Biden administration, 87,000 new IRS agents. Settle your back taxes now. Make sure that you're safe from IRS and the what the federal government has done to so many people, just weaponizing government. Visit taxnetworkusa.com or call 1-800-357-1415 and protect your hard-earned money.
And let's go from the tax network to Revive Collagen. Collagen accounts for 30% of your body's protein, so it provides a structure, support, and strength to your skin, muscles, bones, and connective tissues. So Revive by Bright Core Nutrition combines 5 types of collagen with the moisturizing power of this hyaluronic acid and biotin to heal and nourish your skin, hair, and nails, increase muscle mass, and promote healthy bones and joints. Make your body great. Again, you see that number on your screen there. Always good to have all kinds of products that are made, of course, in the United States, always good, but also do a good job too.
Right, absolutely. And then you can save up to 50% with our RSBN special. Something very important to keep in mind to keep your body healthy and safe, along with your mental acuity and spiritual health. So make your body great again.
Yeah, definitely. So 888-652-4131. And as we take that live look there, not too far from gorgeous Lake Tahoe, Nevada, and the California line, of course. Lake Tahoe, one side's Nevada, one side California. But there in Reno, Nevada, we're awaiting JD Vance, the vice presidential nominee, to speak there in Nevada. We did hear from the Minnesota speech. We listened to a couple of those excerpts of the speech the other day, talking about loyalty, right? Talking about the electoral process in the sense of the country voting red. I mean, we see the numbers out there, Bobby, don't we?
Oh, we really do. And it was interesting with the introduction just now of the commentary on what the left is saying, and you can actually play it back to a number of mainstream media sites of the commentating on JD Vance's speeches have been weird, and they're using that word weird. Well, what was really odd, we were talking about these white dudes for Harris, and it's mostly these actors who have come out, which includes gentlemen from The Big Lebowski, Mark Hamill, some West Wing actors, all really obsessed with race, making very, I would say, weird videos.
Yeah. And there's a number of things we could talk about there, but what we can say is with the mainstream media, the amount of pinning against each other that they try and push, right? Mm-hmm. And we just know that's not true. I mean, we go to these rallies, we see people from all walks of life out there loving God, loving the land, loving the Constitution, loving President Trump. And that's what the truth is. The left wing with that big megaphone, right? We almost think that all people on the left are this way, but that's not really the case.
Oh, no. And again, it's more people you talk to, and even though you might have a neighbor or family member who's of a different party, it's worth engaging with them and speaking with them. I was talking to a gentleman recently who said, well, this is what I believe in. I want fiscal sanity. I'm actually very pro-life. And I'm a big numbers guy, and I'm involved in, what you would consider big tech. And I'm like, well, that's interesting because this is what the Republican platform is. Maybe you consider voting this way because this is the stuff that's actually defending what you say you care about. And again, people are not necessarily digesting as much as others do when it comes to politics, but I'm sure people are now turning their attention to it, giving these large rallies, given what's happened in the last few days, and as we're entering what's, I believe, only 97 days until the presidential election.
Yeah, so less than 100 days out. It's around the corner, and I was just thinking about what you were saying there, Bobby, about talking with people that might not believe or think the same way you do, especially on the political spectrum. But being able to, let's be real, we still want to persuade people in some ways because, hey, like this candidate has this going on. Would you rather have that or would you rather have this? I mean, it's very simple, common sense stuff. And I thought about this scripture, and I thought about this the other day. In Matthew 5:16, it says, "Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good deeds and moral excellence and recognize and honor and glorify your Father who is in heaven." Okay? So we see scriptures like that. Just let your light shine. Sometimes we might might not even have to say a word, and it's just kind of that beam of light.
That's beautiful.
And then obviously no one is perfect, right? I mean, you fall short of the glory of God through sin, but we have salvation out of that through Jesus. But the point is still letting our light shine. So we want as many people to see the common sense truth and get out of the brainwashed flow and get on the right side of history.
Well, I think that was such a highlight of the RNC and the prayer and the unity that was involved, and those really turning their vision back to God. I think about 2 Chronicles 7:14, and if my nation would just turn back to me, I will bless them and heal their land. It's an extraordinary concept, but biblical truth is actually historical fact, and we see this lineage and how we've been formed as a constitutional republic with democratic values of Western society, some elements of Rome, some elements of, of course, British life, who we got our freedom from, the United Kingdom, but the Magna Carta that really birthed that idea of freedom, that all men are created equal under the law, a cornerstone of Western civilization, and then this culminating into what really is the pinnacle of world governance, the American system, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed with certain inalienable rights from their creator. We have a beautiful country to defend, and I think that this movement, really the cornerstone of it, is from those values.
Exactly right. 7:30, JD Vance set to speak there, as you see. We're looking at 7 minutes from now is the time slated. We'll see if it happens right there on the nose at 7:30. But we do know that tomorrow, Mr. Vance, the vice presidential pick, heads to Arizona for a campaign stop. So he goes from Nevada down to Arizona. Then on Thursday, he will visit the southern border, something that Kamala Harris did once.
Right, and I think the 2 big themes of what we're seeing from today, tomorrow, Thursday will be a focus on no tax on tips, also the security, the safety of the southern border, probably 2 of the most prominent campaign issues that are affecting this area of the country. Although we've seen, like with Laken Riley, it was the jogger, the UGA student who was murdered by an illegal immigrant who was actually in New York and had a rap sheet so long that it would put someone away for years. New York prosecutors had released him. He got his way down to Georgia. And I'm bringing this story up again because it's not only so sad, but every city, every state is affected by this border problem, and we're seeing it across the country.
We are seeing that through the fentanyl, through the crime, and then unfortunately on top of that, non-citizens possibly being able to vote in this election. And I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier, and he was saying, and then on top of that, a lot of people in law enforcement, they're putting a lot of the illegal immigrants, trying to put them into various aspects of law enforcement in the country as well.
Right.
So that's there's a lot of problems right there. So a lot to clean up, and that's what Draining the Swamp is all about. Let's go to the wellness company. All you have to do is go to makecaregreatagain.com. You can see there, if you use that promo code RSBN, you'll get 15% off. First of all, that's just a good way to start things out, huh?
Well, it really is. And all of our products are sponsors who are putting out these amazing products. You do get the discounts through RSBN, so it's well worth it. But you have 8 different medications in here, prescription only. Can't just go down the street to the pharmacy to obtain it. But ivermectin, Z-Pak, amoxicillin, and more. Of course, Dr. Drew Pinsky, Dr. Peter McCullough, who have developed this. Such a great idea to have. And I really appreciate Dr. McCullough's testimony to the Texas Senate in the height of COVID, saying that some of this other stuff that Dr. Fauci is pushing out is just plain wrong, and you actually need this. This works. So you have it right in a nice little backpack for you, whether you're hiking, whether you're on the road, or whether you just have it in your pantry to make sure you and your family are safe. protect yourselves from bird flu or monkeypox or even COVID again. So makecaregreatagain.com, save 15% with code RSBN, and make sure you're healthy as we go into what's seemingly the dog days of summer. It's nice and hot outside.
Yeah.
But, coming into what should be a beautiful fall.
Exactly. And before we get to the fall, of course, there are still summer plans still happening, beach trips, road trips, and the like. Wouldn't that be terrible if you come down with something, right, on a trip, and then, but if you had this, how that would be so great.
Oh, exactly. And I've never really fell victim to a summer flu in the past, but I know some have. And that it's a little bit more miserable when it's super hot outside.
Definitely. So makecaregreatagain.com. Let's shift over to the Birch Gold Group. Text Trump to 989898. Tax sheltered IRAs, 401ks, having the backup for the U.S. dollar in gold, silver, precious metals. That's the group right there, Birch Gold Group. You can protect those savings, so get Birch Gold Group's free info kit on gold now. Text Trump to 989898.
Many patriots supporting this organization. Steve Bannon, Ron Paul, Dan Bongino, among others. And convert your 401k or IRA into tangible metals that you can hold in your hands, and to make sure, God forbid anything terrible went with the American economy, but you know, we have Biden inflation. We have the Biden administration has skyrocketed the debt into trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. So it's good to have currency that can protect you and your family in case anything goes awry. Text Trump to 989898, Birch Gold.
And we were talking, you mentioned Steve Bannon there. Of course, Steve Bannon, in prison right now. And there is standwithbannon.com out there if you want to get a t-shirt. Standwithbannon.com. I was speaking with Steve Stern earlier, who's got that going. So we'll hear more from Steve Stern tomorrow in our rally coverage. When President Trump, he will be going to Chicago to attend the National Association of Black Journalists Convention, and then he'll head to Harrisburg, PA for that rally. So we'll hear from Steve Stern tomorrow, and also, once again, Linda McMahon with the America First Policy Institute. So a lot of travel going on for JD Vance and Donald Trump.
Oh, no question about it. And our thoughts and prayers are with Mr. Bannon as well. I was fortunate enough to see Peter Navarro speak at the TPUSA Believer Summit on Friday, and he was just released from federal prison a week ago, and it reminded me of Paul's testimonies, whether it's with the Philippians or the Thessalonians. Peter Navarro saying that I went to prison so you don't have to, but it can happen to any of us. And it's happened to two great American patriots simply for speaking their minds and working on issues that actually made a difference for the middle class and the Rust Belt, especially the work that Peter Navarro did in the Trade Commission. An extraordinary director. He took on China directly, and the globalist bureaucratic state wanted him to pay for that, and he did suffer in prison.
And then the story of we got this, when he shared that story at the RNC with his fiance, he was saying that when he was getting taken to that facility in Miami, that his fiance didn't say, I love you at that point. She said, we got this. And it was just a very powerful speech there at the RNC. It is 7:30. It is the time that the vice presidential nominee will be soon taking the stage. And Bobby, if you remember, we started our coverage at 5:30. Look at the amount of people now there since 5:30.
Really has grown, and I could say from personal experience as well that the Secret Service has been on more of a high alert, I would say, ever since what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, also with local police departments. But these security lines do go pretty smoothly. They do go relatively quickly considering what's happened in recent weeks. But it is really a full house, and everyone's steadily coming on in to see Senator JD Vance of Ohio make a MAGA speech out in beautiful Reno, Nevada, for what I'm sure it's going to be one of a sound policy speech.
Exactly. I mean, I think what we're going to see are grand slam home runs for the rest of these campaign stops from now into the election. And then we believe and are praying for the right outcome come November 5th. So we've got Nevada today. We've got Arizona with JD Vance tomorrow. And then as well. President Trump again in Chicago and in Harrisburg for a rally. And then fast forward to Saturday, Bobby, Atlanta for President Trump. I mean, again, did you hear the cities I just named? Chicago, Atlanta. He's been in Philly, Detroit, New York.
He's unafraid to go in these heavily Democrat areas that Republicans haven't touched for years.
Right.
And you see the difference, you see the excitement, and I think a lot of this has to do with a platform that is tangible to all Americans across all 50 states.
I remember the sneaker con in Philadelphia last year when President Trump came out and showed what are they called? The Trump Force Ones? I don't know.
The Trump Force Ones.
That'd be kind of cool if it's called Trump Force Ones. But anyway, the sneakers looked awesome. But the crowd there in Philly, right? You know, at the sneaker con, they were just so loud the whole time. And then I remember he called up a lady to talk. And she was just saying how much she loved President Trump. It's because President Trump stands for what we all need in this life. We need freedom in this life, Bobby, don't we?
Absolutely. He believes in the American people. You know, he really is the Federalist president. He believes in the 10th Amendment, states' rights, the fact that you can do better with your life what you think rather than the government, and the government trying to enforce everything about you from their city-state of Washington, D.C., And President Trump embodies, I think, the hopes and dreams of every American. And you just look at his life as a successful businessman, people he's employed, and the everyday Americans that got up to speak at the RNC, really highlighting what this MAGA agenda is all about.
Exactly. So we know it's about that GOP platform, those 20 promises as well with the Agenda 47. We were talking about those platforms before, or the platform before, from sealing the border to defending the Constitution to voter rights and all that in the sense of, you know, voter ID and that kind of thing.
And also just freedom around the world, peace in the Middle East, peace in Europe. Just not these bureaucratic wars that get started because of bankers, because of the CIA, because of deep state actors. President Trump committed to peace through strength and putting our country first.
Exactly. Speaking of putting our country first, I mean, one of the statements, a quote from President Trump's speech at the RNC, he said, "Just like our ancestors, we must now come together, rise above past differences and disagreements, and go forward united as one people, one nation, pledging allegiance to one great and beautiful American flag." He says, "I ask for your partnership, for your support, and I am humbly asking for your vote. Every day I will strive to honor the trust you have placed in me, and I'll never let you down." I mean, what a fighter we have in this guy.
There's no
what a
question
fighter.
about that. He really is something. You remember the fight after he was shot, and actually speaking to some law enforcement and some friends who have been Secret Service in the last couple of weeks. You know, it's fortunate he had that iconic moment, because past members of the service have told me directly that they should have rushed him a lot quicker, although President Trump has given praise and due praise to his details specifically, because these people, they get to know them. He knows them personally, and he was very grateful for their assistance, of course. But a photo that will go down in history, and we're already seeing shirts and hats being made showing the president's courage. You really get to know a person in a moment like that, and clearly President Donald Trump does have that resolve and that courage to continue forward.
100%. And then you look at the post from President Trump 10 hours ago on Truth Social, to your point. Facebook has, just admitted that it wrongly censored the Trump attempted assassination photo and then got caught. Same thing for Google. So they made it virtually impossible to find pictures or anything about this heinous act. Both are facing big backlash over the censorship claims. President Trump, continuing on this Truth Social post about 10 hours ago, he said, quote, "Here we go again, another attempt at rigging the election. Go after Meta and Google. Let them know we are all wise to them. We will be much tougher this time, MAGA 2024. And of course, the go afterwards is simply, you can boycott, you can just let them know, let the people know, hey, this is the true narrative. They're trying to push the false narrative.
Right, and that's what's so important about living in 2024 and being engaged online with all these different platforms. Get that information out there. I notice too, I try to share as much as I can on my personal Facebook, but just doesn't get the likes and the clicks that perhaps it did in the past, and we know this. I mean, they actually banned President Trump from Twitter, which is now X, from Facebook. He's now been reinstated, thank God. We've even had Mark Zuckerberg say it was inspiring to see how President Trump reacted after getting shot, but clearly it's going back to some of their old narrative and some of their old antics. So it's good to have platforms like True Social, like Getter and others out there trying to get free, unfiltered, not only facts, but opinions out there about what the American people are thinking. To have a pulse on that is quite important.
Yeah, and you look at Locals and Telegram and Rumble, Right Side Broadcasting Network. I mean, so many places to go now to be able to hear from the American people, hear the full speeches. Of course, that's what we do here at Right Side. And you remember, Bobby, the other day in Minnesota, I loved when President Trump said, "Look at the crowd," and our camera ops. And I told one of them, because I had to pick one of them up at the airport, I was glad to do it, and I said, "Man, that was awesome." I said, "You did a good job." I gave him a fist bump because he was so quick to pull back and show the crowd as soon as President Trump said, "Look." And I mean, that's the thing. It's a common sense network here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So, all right. So the DJT outsider quote, one of my favorite quotes, and I want to talk about that. Just what we're looking for in any so-called politicians anymore, right? Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider, because it's the outsiders who change the world and make a real and lasting difference. And we can see through people now that are running for office or already in office. It's either you are an outsider in the sense of you're really doing this for the people, or you're really doing this for yourself.
Well, and I really got a kick out of his, he has these picture books, and I believe another one is coming out, but the first one was Our Journey Together, highlighting the successes of the 45 administration. But then the sequel was Letters to Trump. Very interesting to see who wrote those letters over the years, especially celebrities and people in society that revered Donald Trump until he became president. And my personal favorite were the letters he exchanges with Oprah. And he even said, "I'd love to be your friend again. She just pretty much disowned me." And he mentioned just different things about her visits to Mar-a-Lago and how much she enjoyed being a part of that. And actually one of the letters said, Donald, what if we ran together? Could you imagine how much we'd get done, how much we'd fix?
Yeah.
Interesting to see how opinions have changed over time. I think because of societal pressures or whatever it might be. But again, it goes back to that loyalty. Why would you do that to a friend?
Exactly. You know what's great about that book? At the end of this book, and I don't want to be a spoiler, so go out and get the book, but I do want to say it's kind of cool that it's about letters to Trump, right?
Right.
But at the end of it, it's a letter to the American people.
Yes, it's a special.
That's awesome, isn't it?
It really is awesome, and you can see that at his rallies too. I think one of his skills is talking through the media to get that message out to the American people. The willingness to take time with even our tiniest Americans, and I really love the story of when he called Senator JD Vance to inform him the Monday of the convention that he would be the nominee. He actually spoke to JD Vance's oldest son, his 7-year-old, for a few minutes, and the senator saying, "I'll never forget that moment that the president took the time to get to know my son." It's
cool that he does that. Again, it's fun to see him at Mar-a-Lago, and if somebody's having a wedding there, he'll stop at the reception, that kind of thing. So it's anybody that can be that outsider person that really wants to help this country. A lot of the freedom, conservative MAGA candidates, all the same in my opinion. That's what we're into. And obviously Donald Trump is the leader of all of that. So again, 7:30 has passed, but we know that Senator Vance will be taking the stage there in Reno, Nevada. My name is Matthew Alvarez alongside
Bobby McNeely. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Matthew, and a pleasure to cover the Reno, Nevada MAGA rally featuring future Vice President Senator JD Vance.
I like how you speak it into existence, because that's exactly what we're looking at here to save our country. We see the common sense ticket, and the common sense ticket is who we're looking at right there, JD Vance. And of course, President Trump tomorrow, 2 stops, Chicago and Harrisburg, PA. And it's rally day in the Keystone State tomorrow, Bobby. Paul Ingrassia, Nikki Stanzione, they're live tomorrow.
I can't wait for their coverage, and I'm sure what's going to be an energetic event. And I haven't checked the temperatures there, but again, drink a lot of water, hydrate, get some Gatorade or electrolytes in you, and eat something before you go to these rallies, because sometimes you're out there, you're standing in long lines. It's been warm throughout the country, and you might get sick. We've seen it on a couple of occasions, and there are great people who will take care of you. We just saw that in Charlotte, North Carolina. A couple people just had a few moments with the weather, and just important to get nice and hydrated before you get to what are nice arenas with plenty of air conditioning.
Exactly. And speaking of tomorrow in Pennsylvania, we did hear, of course, and I know you guys know, most of you probably, that President Trump will be having another rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. We don't know when or where in the sense of what kind of venue, but it's going to be great to see that. It's going to be great to see this tonight. I mean, these events are so inspiring to the American people.
Oh, they are. They're a lot of fun, and what a way to engage elected officials and to hear directly from them. I don't know if we'll ever see anything quite like it again in history. This MAGA movement that has drawn such, you'll cry, you'll laugh, you'll have a wonderful time at these events. There's really nothing quite like it. It's like a rock concert.
Exactly, and the inspiration for our country, right? These aren't just rallies. I mean, we love feeling good. Who doesn't love to feel good, right? Mm-hmm. But you feel good at these places, at these events, but you also go away with, okay, what can I do to help this happen? What can I do to make America great again? And we look at things like election integrity, being a committeeman, a committeewoman, clearing voter rolls, all these kind of things you can do. Be a poll watcher, right? Door knock, volunteer, right?
Oh, and it's the best way to do it. I mean, I've seen that throughout, my own career and volunteering, being involved myself in my community and where I grew up in the Chicago area. There's no better way to meet your neighbors, but also ensuring the integrity of the vote. Really, this country does not last without your participation and without a well-informed electorate. No better way to do that than to get on that ground level. And the true change agents, the true outsiders, are those who get engaged, become the precinct committeemen, as you mentioned, Matthew, and go and knock on those doors and talk to people out there about the policies that will make America great again.
And is that somebody watching Right Side Broadcasting? That was kind of cool. Hello. Let's see if she says hello to us real quick. She has her AirPods in. It'll be a little bit of a delay, but that was that's what you call a great get by our photographer right there. That person had their phone up. That was pretty awesome, and was showing our coverage at Right Side. So,
there she is. It looks like.
So wave if you'd like to wave. I don't know if you hear us, but that's what this is all about. Again, the people to the president. We are all, Bobby. We are the people.
Absolutely.
No elitist stuff going on here.
Right. There's no reason to feel that way or to be like that. It's President Donald Trump recognizes that he's in a servant's role, and it's servant leadership. He left that beautiful lifestyle he had, that he created. And that's the beauty of America, that you can, if you put your mind to it, you can create incredible things and make storybook dreams happen in your life. And then he left all of that to have this life of difficulty.
She's waving.
I love that.
That's
great. American flag get up. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Bobby, you're single, so.
I'll send a kiss back. I am single, yes, sir.
All right, so Patriot Bachelorettes out there. Bobby's single. Anyway, that's a great moment. See, this is what we love at Right Side. It's the genuine, authentic moments out there at the rally, interviewing people, right? Isn't it awesome just talking to people out there?
It's so much fun, and I love the outfits too, and that is a great way actually to get on camera as we look throughout the audience of who to interview. It's having some great American flag get up is always a good way to do that.
We should totally wear the cowboy hat here, the American flag.
Right.
What a cool moment there in Reno, Nevada, as we wait for the Vice President, JD Vance, soon to be, as you spoke. I like that because I mean, a lot of times we say if we win and all that, and that's more from a news aspect, right? Because we have to still see the outcome.
Oh, exactly.
But there's that whole side too of we got to call it how it is. This has got to happen for our country.
And I can't remember a time in my life where it's been so dire, and you'll hear that from a lot of politicians. This is the most important election in your lifetime. This 2024 really, really is. When you look at the policies that truly affect the American people, in Main Street, USA.
Right.
Across the country, there is no larger contrast than President Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris, and again, not just voting for individuals,
right.
voting for ideologies and very different paths forward.
That's so true. I'm thinking about what just happened as well with the cowgirl hat there. We have no idea if that person would be single, but what a way to meet somebody, right? Through the airwaves.
And thank you to my colleague Matthew for hopefully encouraging that, because that's what we need in life, right? It's family, relationships.
Yes. It's
connecting through these mediums, whether it be television, live streams, social media that we do have now, and we can use it in our service to God and country by connecting with people that have like-minded thoughts or want our country to go in a similar direction. So what a time to be alive, to be able to engage in that regard.
Yeah, and what a great place to meet friends or meet someone is at a rally there. I mean, it's awesome. You're in an area that's where most people are from that region, right? So anyway, enough of that. We don't need to go down the dating advice 101, but hey, who knows? All right, so 7:47 on the East Coast as we await JD Vance to speak there. Director, do we have that soundbite from clip 1 from the other day in Minnesota that we could throw to? Please let me know. In the meantime, we want to tell you about our friends at the Birch Gold Group. All you have to do is text Trump to 989898, and you can get an info kit on gold. The info kit's pretty cool. It's right here. So all you have to do is text Trump to 989898. And Bobby, having that peace of mind, of course, with gold, silver, or precious metals as a backup, just some of your cash is always good.
So smart. These are gaining in their value, especially silver, in the last several years. But with Bidenflation, with our horrible, growing, increasing national debt, which President Biden has made just awful, good to have financial secure backups. Perhaps you want to change your 401k or IRA to tangible gold, silver, metals. Text Trump to 989898. Check out the Birch Gold Group, endorsed by many fellow patriots.
Definitely. All right, so let's take a look at just a few days ago. Let's rewind to the Herb Brooks National Hockey Arena in St. Cloud, Minnesota, where JD Vance was on stage. This is a kind of a cool moment. Take a look.
Preserve that American dream for the next generation. If we want to build upon it, then we have got to win this election. We have got to bring the people's president back. That's President Donald J. Trump, and we're going to do everything we can to get him elected in November. And we're going to do it together. We're going to turn Minnesota red. We're going to turn this whole country red with President Donald J. Trump's leadership.
So, of course, that the other day in St. Cloud, Minnesota rally day there. So many people. Do you remember seeing outside the amount of people? There were so many people outside.
It was gigantic, and I think those Saturday rallies just allow, more people are off of work, of course, but we even had an overflow in Charlotte. So you want to get there as early as you can to get a good seat and make sure you get a seat. Sometimes that won't happen, as we saw in Minnesota. And I think President Trump is really pushing hard for Minnesota. He has talked on several occasions how close he's been, just a couple percentage points off. Historically, it's an interesting state. It's given us some of our more colorful personalities in politics on the right and the left, and a place where I think they would really enjoy this populist message. And, way back in 2000, they had elected Jesse the Body Ventura, a wrestler, to be their governor. And President Trump back then went to visit Jesse the Body Ventura to see if he could make a run as a Reform Party candidate, third party that was surging back about 24 years ago or so. But then President Trump putting us on on edge, the excitement that he has later fully pursuing the presidency in 2016.
So 10 electoral votes up for grabs in Minnesota. You're looking at Reno, Nevada. There are 6 up for grabs there. Again, it's the race to 270 electoral votes. That'll be our next president. We see the polls. We see the people. We see everything on conservative media, social media, people from all backgrounds that we've seen. In droves, we're talking here. We see that under a Trump administration, people were much more happy. They were much more wealthy. We were stronger. We were safer, and we were greater.
Oh, there's no question about that. And those are the main themes, of course, of the RNC, and tangible points on how to get there. And I love the fact that this president wants to focus on making America's cities beautiful again, especially Washington, D.C., because that's where you see a lot of the suffering or the failure of Bidenflation and, quite frankly, their unwillingness to keep these areas safe. You've seen a decline in our great American cities.
Yeah, and there are some nice cities out there. I mean, Nashville's a cool spot. You've got parts of Atlanta are fun. I mean, think about it. The great aquarium in Atlanta.
Oh, it's beautiful.
There's in D.C. there's some pockets, but there's a lot of crime still, and that's the thing that we got to have that law and order, of course, to take place here in this country. So again, it is approaching the 8 o'clock hour on the East Coast as we await the senator from Ohio, JD Vance, to take the stage there in front of a packed, not arena, but convention center. And at 5:30 when we started this coverage, there was maybe 200 people in there. Now it's wall to wall, and you could see all the people there awaiting JD Vance, as he will be going to Arizona tomorrow. Then on Thursday, he will visit the southern border there in Arizona. And then President Trump will be in Chicago and Harrisburg, PA tomorrow, and then on Saturday in Atlanta. So a lot of coverage here on Right Side Broadcasting Network coming up. If you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, all you have to do is text RSBN. I see some applause going on. But real quick, it is RSBN to 801-801. Text RSBN to 801-801. Let's send it to Reno, Nevada right now.
Whoa! Are you guys fired up? I don't know. I don't know. I just came from Las Vegas, and they were pretty noisy down there, fired up. Are we fired up? Let me start by thanking you for voting for President Trump to be our nominee and voting for me to be your nominee for United States Senate this November. Wow, what a crowd. You guys are phenomenal. Look, guys, we've got 97 days to victory. 97 days of hard work. 97 days to fight for America. 97 days to fight for Nevada. 97 days to take the White House, to take the Senate, to hold the House, to make America great again. Now look, I'm not going to take long because I know you all have been waiting. You've been waiting, but we're here. The man of the hour is here. President Trump picked a great one in Senator JD Vance, a man who has served this country with honor, a man who came from humble beginnings, a man who has not been tainted or corrupted by the swamp, a man who will lead and stand with President Trump through thick and thin, when times are tough, when times are good. And so with that, I'm going to allow some other great speakers to come up here. But Nevada, I'm with you. Let's win.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nevada GOP Chairman Michael J. McDonald.
Yes, this place is packed. All right, you ready, fired up for this? How great is Sam Brown? You should have seen him in Las Vegas. He was phenomenal. It was great. So real quick, I'm going to tell you a story. How many people remember when Hillary Clinton was attacking us? She called us deplorables, right? Well, that's the speech I kind of hit on in Las Vegas. Now you know what they call us? Weird. Weird. So in this conversation I had with some of our Democratic friends the other night, I said what's really weird is that you want to vote for somebody who lied to us about Joe Biden for years and said he's fine, there's no problem, he's wonderful, that there's not a problem with the issue. You want to vote for someone for president who called herself the border czar, right? Remember that? March of 2021. 10 million illegal aliens come in? Yeah. How many of the people that are voting for these Democrats can afford what's going on right now? How many of you can afford the cost of living? Gas prices are going up. We see every day what's happening when it comes time and time for us to take care of our children. They complain, but they're the ones that are starting the fire. They're the ones that keep electing the same people over and over again that do one and nothing but keep us down. That has ended. We are working class people. This is where it starts, right here. Are there any Hollywood actors in the audience? Any multi-billionaires? Please don't be shy. Raise your hand. That's exactly my point. She represents the other side. That group represents the other side, the haves. We are the working men and women that make this country move. We fight. We send our children to war. We make sure we come together. That is what it's about. We talked about JD Vance. Yes, the man. Here's a man who had upbringing like many of us. You fight. You had the brakes go against you from time to time. He did not give up. He pushed back. He moved forward. He got an education. Joined the Marines. Went to the war. Let me hear it from the Marines. Any Marines in the house? He is the American success story. He is the one that can deliver to the people. He is the one that didn't give up and didn't look and say, oh, help me, the brakes are up against me. No, he fought like everyone in this room to make it that we have a better America as we move forward. So when he comes out, you make sure you give him a strong, strong Nevada welcome, like I know you always do. How about that? Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. God bless Nevada.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome United States Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna.
Good afternoon, Reno, Nevada. Let's try that again. I don't think they can hear you in Florida. Good afternoon, Reno, Nevada. Now let me tell you, I am here today because of the egregious lies about JD Vance saying that he's anti-woman. Women in the crowd, let me hear you real quick. Do you think JD's anti-woman? Let me tell you, I don't think Joe Biden or Kamala Harris gets that type of welcome, all right? But the irony about the anti-woman attack is it's coming from the same party that can't define a woman. The same party that's putting men in women's sports, that's trying to erase motherhood, calling us chest feeders and birthing persons. Last time I checked, I'm not a chest feeder. How about you guys? Now, as a new mom, this horrifies me. I gave birth to my son about a year ago. And as a new mom, and especially being a working mom at that, I had to go back to work, kind of have an important job in Congress. But did you know that female members of Congress can't vote if they're out? And so I put forward legislation to actually change that. And did you know that the Democrats killed that? They killed women being able to vote, recovering from maternity. And let me say, it was Hakeem Jeffries told them, don't support that. When I put forward IVF legislation to help parents that are actually struggling with infertility, and as a mom who took a very long time to get pregnant, I can tell you that that subject is near and dear to me. And I'm sure that there's some people here that have also been through that. Democrats blocked it. The party that's supposed to empower women is working against women. Now, they try to say that JD's the problem, but the fact is that he's a threat. He is a threat to the narrative and to the attempt of the left to destroy the American dream, and we're not going to let that happen. You see, they're attempting to distract Americans from the fact that Kamala Harris was indeed the border czar. They don't want to talk about what she's done to this country, so let me tell you about a little story. I actually ran into Kamala Harris at the airport. I was flying it back in through Texas. And at the time, I was actually one of the biggest conservative Hispanic activists in the country, but I was working to raise awareness about what was happening at the border with trafficking. Okay, and I went to ask her questions because at the time she was running for president. So I walk up to her, I'm ready with my question, and she goes, "Would you like a selfie?" No, Kamala, I don't want a selfie. I asked her a question. Do you know what she did? She ran away. She ran away from me asking questions about a very important topic, an important topic that's actually hurting many people on both sides of the border. So real quick, I think people here have a lot of common sense. Do you think that it's acceptable that under Kamala Harris's watch, 85,000 children have gone missing under the custody of the federal government? Do you think that it's acceptable that she's ignored the rape, trafficking, and torture of Hispanic women and children? Do you think that it's okay that she has turned a blind eye to the fentanyl that's destroying our communities, whether you are black, white, or Hispanic, rich or poor? It is ruining our country. And do you think that it is okay that she's turned a blind eye to our kids going off to college, young women, to mothers being raped and tortured by people that are coming here illegally, breaking the law, and are known criminals? You see, as a minority woman, she had a seat at the table and she did nothing, which is the worst thing that you could possibly do. You see, JD Vance will be a solution when President Trump gets elected, and I say when because according to Kamala Harris's polling, it's not looking good for her team. When JD Vance is put in charge, I have a feeling that he knows exactly what that's like to see what happens when drugs impacts your family. He has an incredibly beautiful family. If I might just shout out his wife, who's backstage, an incredible woman, accomplished attorney, total rock star. Let's get up for Usha. But I think one of the most important things is he is a Marine Corps veteran. And what I can tell you is as a veteran myself, you learn something. It's called total and complete accountability and responsibility in the military. And when you see a problem, we fix it. Thank you to all of our vets who are currently here right now. Thank you. That is the true leadership we need in the White House, and that's exactly why we need to have JD as the next vice president and Trump as our next 47th president of the United States. You see, JD Vance won't hide what's happening at the border like Kamala Harris hid evidence when she incarcerated innocent men, but they don't want to talk about that, do they? So I have a few questions for you, Reno. Do we want a corrupt prosecutor in the White House? Who's going to be the 47th president of the United States? And who's going to be our next VP? Who is it going to be? That's what I thought. Let's put your hands together for JD Vance. Thanks, guys.
Why don't we liberate?
Yeah, and I'm set up in courthouse.
Well, there you go. Awaiting JD Vance there in Nevada. A great speech there by a number of people.
Oh, yes, and Congresswoman Ana Paulina Luna of Florida really getting the crowd charged up and highlighting how anti-woman the Democrat House caucus has been. I did not even realize that the working women who happen to be congresswomen like Ana Paulina Luna, who now has a 1-year-old, they cannot vote remotely, which they were able to do under Nancy Pelosi during COVID reasons. But clearly, if you're a new mom, they make it a little bit harder, especially if you're on the Republican side.
Yeah, definitely. So we are awaiting JD Vance to take the stage there, as you can tell. I mean, a lot of people there packed in the house there, Bobby. Why don't we share with the people that maybe don't know who we are? My name is Matthew Alvarez. This is Bobby McNeely. If you'd like to follow on Truth Social, that'd be great. If not, that's okay too. RSBN, though, definitely at RSBN. You could follow on Truth Social. As we await JD Vance to speak there in Nevada. And then, of course, all this week, for those of you just joining us, a lot of coverage on Right Side Broadcasting Network with rallies and events happening, both with the vice presidential nominee, as you can see here in Nevada, and then President Trump tomorrow in Chicago and Harrisburg.
An exciting time and going into territories that were traditionally Democrat strongholds. But President Trump and Senator Vance clearly unafraid to take the MAGA populist agenda on the road to meet with all different types of folks, all different folks from different backgrounds, and that room is pretty packed. As we started our coverage over 2.5 hours ago, we saw some people in there, but now it's clearly wall to wall in the convention center out in Reno, Nevada.
And we heard the name Kamala Harris a couple times there. Speaking of Kamala Harris, we do have clip number 2, which is when the Ohio Senator JD Vance was speaking in Minnesota just the other day, and there was this back and forth, in the media about loyalty. Well, Director, if you could let me know if that clip's ready, but we'll go to that as JD Vance was speaking in St. Cloud, Minnesota, just a few days ago. So it's always interesting to see how and what various people will say when they're up there on stage to kind of hit back in a way verbally.
Right, and plenty to work on there and go with, because JD Vance's story is really quite remarkable. Of course, if you read Hillbilly Elegy, it was made into a movie. But here's a gentleman who grew up in Appalachia. As he described it, very difficult to get out of what is working class neighborhoods to go on to get his JD, his Juris Doctor from Yale after graduating with a bachelor's from The Ohio State University. He goes on and he's a Marine as well. After high school, he enlisted to protect and serve the country in Iraq. And as a result, from what took place with 9/11, and a very successful businessman, really someone who has lived the American dream, and I think even has inspired President Trump clearly as someone who, for the next generation, can carry the torch of the MAGA principles. Mr. Vance, Senator Vance, turning 40 in just a few days here, August 2nd. So a millennial young Republican on the national ticket.
Always good to see that. Always good to see that within a number of generations when it comes to, our country with the conservative and freedom movement. So we know slated to speak at 7:30. It's now 8:11, of course, meeting probably law enforcement, shaking hands with people there in Nevada, and everyone waiting there to hear from the vice presidential nominee, JD Vance. So fast forward to our coverage tomorrow. Harrisburg, PA is rally day in the Keystone State tomorrow. We'll have Paul Ingrassia and Nikki Stanzione there live. They'll also be doing the coverage about the Chicago stop for President Trump as well. Bobby and I will also be here in the studio, so we'll carry the day tomorrow, and we'll be happy to have you guys join us like usual. Obviously, a lot of people tuning in to Right Side Broadcasting Network as we show you everything from the people all the way to the president. The Birch Gold Group is a great sponsor here at Right Side. As you can see there, you can protect your savings with gold. All you have to do is text Trump to 989898.
And so important to do in days like today with Biden inflation, with our national debt reaching trillions and trillions of dollars. It's out of control. So make sure your family is financially safe and secure. And the Birch Gold Group, a great partner, great patriots like Ron Paul and Steve Bannon, Don Bongino endorsing this group. Text Trump to 989898 and get your great guide to find out how you can protect yourself. Saudi Arabia is now not working with the petrodollar, which was U.S. foreign policy for the last 50 years. We are no longer the world's global currency. The BRICS nations are getting in the way of that. Brazil, China, India. So make sure you are financially secure and go with Birch Gold Group.
Yep, and there are a number of countries being added to that BRICS nation group of people, their group of countries. So there you go. Text Trump to 989898. So back to Nevada here. We know that this is one of 7 important swing states as we approach the 2024 U.S. general election, which is, of course, 97 days away. Prices have jumped there, Bobby, 22% since Democrats moved into the White House. It's an increase of everyday goods, costing the people of Nevada nearly $1,200 more a month, from the gas to the cost of living and all that.
Well, and this state heavily leans on not only its tourism, but the service industry. It's really arguably the headquarters of American entertainment in so many ways. And even like Georgia and other cities and states throughout the country, it has had an influx of the entertainment industry coming from Los Angeles as well. So Hollywood has been moving into some sound studios and stages in the in the state of Nevada, Las Vegas area, and they heavily rely on getting away from inflation to make things successful for attracting business. So these 6 electoral votes are going to be crucial in this upcoming election.
Exactly. So Biden-inflation, Bidenomics, or if you want to call it Harris-flation, or, whatever. I mean, because she is technically the vice president anyway, right? So it is the left's principles to for some reason, really try and ruin our country. I mean, isn't that the truth right there?
Well, it is. And Harris really, I mean, it really doesn't matter who's at the top of their ticket. They're clearly going down a far left mantra.
Yes.
It's policies and an ideology rather than just a person they're facing. But if you actually want to look at the tangibles of her record, she was appointed border czar. She had not visited the border for nearly a year after that appointment, only has been down there a handful of times, has failed miserably on that. And really, like President Trump says, if they just did not touch the border, everything would have been fine. If they had just stuck with the Trump border policies, listening to experts like Brandon Judd of the National Border Control Policy Group, then everything would have been fine. But instead, they had to invoke woke, invoke DEI into the process, and it's harmed thousands of countless Americans, whether it be fentanyl, murders, people who should not have been here in the first place because they were lawbreakers. And I just think back with my home state, with Georgia, Laken Riley. She was jogging outside of the campus at UGA, and this is in the afternoon, a heavily populated area, and an illegal alien murdered her. Would not have happened if President Trump was still in office.
9.9 million illegal immigrants have come into our country under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That stat right there, what else is there to say? Not almost 10 million, maybe even more. So we know what it looks like. We could see what the game plan might be, is to have a number of them to vote in our election. They're obviously committing crimes. We don't know who the people are, so it's not against the actual. We're not just saying a broad stroke that everybody that's coming in here is this terrible, awful person, but a lot of them are.
Well, right,
and you're starting out by committing an illegal act.
Oh, exactly. And I had worked with someone a few years ago who said, I don't know why this is so controversial, because you came through, you broke the law day one. Now, the other problem is, too, the policies in Washington, which have both parties have kicked the can down the road for years and years and years. Let's incentivize legal immigration. We want legal immigration. That helps every nation. If you look at statistics, whether it comes to different workers, different people who want to get their start in a free country, it's a good thing. We want that to happen. Of course, our Statue of Liberty representing "Bring me your tired, your poor, huddled masses yearning to be free."
Right.
But this doesn't mean just an open door to walk through without a process for doing so. We look like a laughingstock to the rest of the world as a result.
Speaking of the rest of the world, the images coming out of Venezuela are not easy to watch, but a number of people involved with the communist dictator Maduro down there, as some of you might know, the police force that's with Maduro, they're joining the people in the movement. So you saw some of that video maybe on Truth Social or X or wherever. The police officers that were part of Maduro's dictatorship are taking their uniforms off and joining the people and knowing that what happened is wrong. Maduro did not win that election. And so to your point about freedom, the people of Venezuela want to be free. Brazil want to be free. The United Kingdom, France, on the most part, the people there want to be free. And of course, we, the people of our great country, simply want freedom. It comes down to that one point. And that's what we're seeing out of some of these terrible images out of Venezuela, Bobby.
Mm-hmm. And it's really the soul crying out to God for that inalienable right. And in our Bill of Rights, enshrined into our Constitution, if you look abroad, there has been this struggle throughout generations in order to reach this point. And it culminates in our system of government, a constitutional republic that all are equal under God by the law. The rule of law is so paramount to our society. And that's been the irony of the far left. The rhetoric that's been coming from them, including President Biden, saying that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Well, look at, I saw an interview with Sebastian Gorka that he did for an international outlet. I believe it was an Australian Sky News, if I'm not mistaken. But he was talking about the amount of people that were actually on the inside of President Trump's administration. He was there as well, who were trying to fit in with the bureaucracy and actually try to go against the will of the people, of their elected president, and what he was trying to execute in the executive branch. And still they were able to accomplish so much in those trying days when he was president of the United States. And it's interesting to see how far some of these bureaucracies will go in order to stop a duly elected president.
Exactly. I'm looking at the electoral map right now, the 270 to win. And you see so many states here. I mean, there are 54 electoral votes up for grabs out of the state of California.
Amazing.
Texas has 40. Alabama has 9, right? Pennsylvania, 19. Ohio, 17. In Nevada, as we mentioned, there are 6. Minnesota the other day, 10. Again, this is all to 270. That's the road to 270 to win the White House. And so what we're seeing is the polls in all of these swing states, depending on which poll you look at, right? Rasmussen or Polymarket, these polls have President Trump in the lead. There are a number of fake news polls out there that are trying to act like, oh, Harris is right neck and neck. It's the statistical, whatever, what do they call it? Statistical tie or whatever.
Right, and usually that's 3.5 points, give or take. And let's say the problem is they're usually only polling about, give or take, 1,357 voters that are regular, but they're saying that's for the whole country. And that's why you were looking at 270towin.com.
Yeah.
That's a great site to actually go and kind of toy with that, but there are a number of polls they take, a number of actually hard scientific data from political scientists to really follow what's happening out there. And of course, the most important poll of all, going and voting. That's why it's so crucial to get involved. And that's why we saw such a surprise, I think, in 2016, the number of people in the Midwest who had not voted for a long time. There wasn't historical data on them because some didn't vote for 20 years, 40 years, and they finally registered, voted for Donald Trump. And when you really break down the numbers, imagine if we had over 80%, over 90% of active participation across the country. Believe the last election, even with the questions, even with what has proven to be fraud in some places, we still had around 66% or so turnout nationally. So still more room for turnout in our elections. And President Trump highlighted this at the Turning Point USA Believers Summit in West Palm Beach, Florida. Imagine if...
Please welcome former Lieutenant Governor of California, Abel Maldonado.
Hello, Reno. You know, I landed at the airport and I got in a cab. And of course, I like to ask the cab drivers questions. And I said, what do you think about that person running for president from the West Side in the state of California? And he says, can't trust politicians. And I said, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. And I said, what about President Trump? He said, I trust that guy. We all trust him too, and we need him back. You know, in the intro, former Lieutenant Governor of California, Republican in California, we're like leprechauns. We know they exist, but we rarely see them. But I was born and raised in Santa Barbara County, Reagan country. I'm a Republican because of Ronald Reagan. The Golden State, that's what our state used to be called. What happened? We have beaches, we have agriculture, we have Napa, we have Disneyland, we have aerospace, we have Pebble Beach, we have In-N-Out Burger. Why would people leave? We have the worst government in our country. And who has been at the top of that government? Kamala Harris. Our borders are. My friends, just look at San Francisco. In my heart, I believe that San Francisco is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and I say that with all heart. But look what has happened to it. When you drive from the Bay Bridge over to the city, this beautiful romantic city, when you drive from the city over to Oakland, that Bay Bridge, just beautiful. And what has happened? Homelessness everywhere. We have people leaned over who are on drugs, hanging on the side of the streets there, walking like zombies. I'm being very honest with you. If you don't believe me, drive over there if you have a moment. What happened? What happened? They have the worst government in our country. And who's the leader of that government, the top of the government? Our borders are Kamala Harris. Don't forget, she is the most liberal U.S. senator in the Senate when she was there. More liberal than Bernie Sanders. How can that be? And Bernie Sanders is a devout socialist, and Kamala Harris is more liberal than Bernie Sanders. It's amazing. You know, I want to talk about some quick issues about my state. Number one, crime. Crime is everywhere in California. My wife was robbed in California 2 years ago, and it really didn't matter. They don't care, because California has one of the worst governments in the country, and who's at the top? Kamala Harris, our borders are. She put forward Proposition 47, and now I'm hearing rumors that maybe she was for it and she wasn't against it. Proposition 47 was written by, the title and summary, by Kamala Harris, our Attorney General. And let me tell you what Proposition 47 did. It legalized theft in California. You can steal $950 in the great state of California and nothing will happen to you. And guess what? If you don't get caught, go to the next store and get $950 and you're going to be okay. That's California. That's the California we have. Grand theft, $950. No problem in California. Write a bad check, forge a bad check, $950. No problem in California. Those are Kamala Harris policies. She's been at the top of the government, and we cannot let her get away with it. She also did Proposition 57. Democrat Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez said, I can't believe she wrote the title and summary of this law. She decriminalized, she made serious crimes nonviolent crimes. What do I mean? Rape by intoxication, nonviolent in California today. That's Kamala Harris. Human trafficking in California, Kamala Harris. My friends, she just doesn't care. She just doesn't care. San Francisco is a sanctuary city. Don't know if you know that or not. Kamala Harris was the district attorney. She was the deputy district attorney in Oakland. Then she was the deputy district attorney in San Francisco. And then she was the district attorney in San Francisco. And she made a comment. We are a sanctuary city, a city of refuge, and we will always be. We will always be. That's who Kamala Harris is. Which brings me to a gentleman, I shouldn't say gentleman, Edwin Ramos, a gang member, illegal alien, MS-13 gangster, arrested for assault. Kamala Harris didn't call the immigration department on him. Let him go. Ramos arrested for attempted robbery, probation. Did not turn Ramos over to immigration. She just can't call can we give her the number to the immigration department? Again, Ramos arrested again. Law enforcement finds a handgun in his car. The gun was used in a double murder homicide. No press charges on Edwin Ramos. Kamala Harris fails to call immigration. Off and running again. And then something really bad happened. Edwin Ramos murdered Tony Bologna, Michael Bologna, and Matthew Bologna in San Francisco. Cold blood killer in San Francisco. Could have been sent to the Department of Immigration for 3 or 4 times. No, Kamala said no, she's got to stay here. We're a sanctuary city. Danielle Bologna came to my office in Sacramento and she says, Abel, I need your help. Please, please keep this alive. She said, Kamala, I want the death penalty for this man who killed my husband and my 2 sons. Immediately, not even wincing. No, not gonna do it. But she did do one thing, just to feel good that week. She banned gun shows at fairgrounds. That made her feel good. You know, but it kept going. She kept going. She's never stopped. And I'm passionate about this because I can speak about this every single day in California and it wouldn't matter. But I'm here today because it matters in Nevada. San Francisco spent $2.3 million to house convicted illegal immigrants in juvenile hall because Kamala Harris did not want to call immigration. San Francisco started flying criminals, convicted illegal immigrants, flying them to their homeland for $19,000 a flight. $19,000 bucks. Guess what? The taxpayers found out she stopped doing it, but she couldn't call immigration to deport these people. Then the San Francisco Probation Department decided, you know what? We're going to rent group homes, and we're going to put convicted immigrants in group homes because we're not going to call immigration. My friends, that's Kamala Harris. And it even gets better. It even gets better. In July of 2008, 8 convicted illegal immigrants walked out of a safe home in Riverside County. And they were caught in Riverside County. And the congressman down there at the time was Jerry Lewis. And he said, hey, stop sending convicted illegal immigrants to my county. She is a sanctuary city. She didn't even want to house them anymore, but she wouldn't call immigration. That's who she is. I'm getting there. My friends, prosecutor. We're hearing it from the media now. All of a sudden, she's not vice president. She's prosecutor Kamala Harris. That's what they're calling her. She has done everything in her power to avoid sending convicted illegal immigrants out of our country to immigration. And that's why Joe Biden appointed her as the border czar. She left the floodgates open. 10 to 12 million people that we don't know who they are have come into our country. But yet she's the border czar. And now she's a prosecutor. You know what I say? Prosecute her. Prosecute her. You know, she could have done something about it, but she chose not to. She chose not to because those are her policies. She doesn't want to. The failed border czar. The failed border czar is going to come here soon, I guarantee you, asking you for your vote to put her in the White House. And when she comes, you can tell her that when the border was open and a bunch of fentanyl came in, 250,000 good Americans OD'd and died in our country. Prosecute her. You know, I was watching this morning the interview of Lester Holt when Lester Holt interviewed her. I don't know if you watched that or not, but Lester Holt says, Madam Vice President, do you have any plans to visit the southern border? She says, we're going to the border. We've been to the border. We've been to the border. And Lester Holt says, Madam President, you haven't been to the border. She responds, I haven't been to Europe. She doesn't care. She doesn't care. You know, but I'm going to share this with you. She showed a lot of strength. After all this, she had a press conference, and you know what she said to the people that were coming to our country? She said, "Don't come. Don't come." You think some MS-13 gangster from the Central America is not going to come because Kamala? Don't come. She's weak. She's failed us. And she's very liberal and not good for America. You know, she wants a wall around her place where she lives, but she doesn't want a wall for our country. She doesn't care. Zero accountability. Only when it's President Donald Trump. You know, I followed all that Alvin Bragg stuff. And I'm a business owner. And you have some accountant who gets an expense, gets the check and puts it in the wrong column. And what does Kamala Harris do and the Democrats? Let's get him. Let's prosecute him. But yet she lets 10 to 12 million people in our country, we don't know who the hell they are, prosecute her. My friends, do you want a San Francisco person in the White House? I don't know how to say this to you, but I said this. I was elected for 16 years in office, and I always used to say that this was an important election. And all people that are in office say it's an important election. My friends, this is the most important election of our lifetime. I'm going to ask you to please don't let Kamala Harris, the border czar, do to your state what she did to mine. She failed us, she's weak, and she's dangerously liberal. You know, the media back there, I don't want to talk too much about this, but I wrote this morning. You know, President Trump has been saying that Kamala destroyed San Francisco. And the media is saying, oh, he's being too hard. He's being too hard. Mr. President, you're being too nice. Way too nice. Kamala Harris first destroyed Oakland. In-N-Out Burger is in California, has only closed one store because of crime. Only one in their history. In Oakland, Kamala's home city, because they were worried about their folks going and all the crime that we go on. She destroyed San Francisco, President Trump's right. She destroyed Los Angeles. She moved to Los Angeles, homelessness everywhere. The state of California, what happened? A lot of Californians are here. I was back there for a couple of minutes. I met so many Californians. She destroyed our border. Just put this in your mind. 10 to 12 million people crossing the border. We don't know who they are. We don't know who they are. They're here. And she's okay with it. I need to apologize to Senator Vance, because I was supposed to introduce him, and I'm going to now. And I spent a lot of my time talking about the horrible things that Kamala did. But now I have the great pleasure to introduce a great man, a patriot, someone who served our country, a family man with 3 beautiful children and a beautiful wife. And you know, I've heard him say this, but I'm going to add a little bit more. He says, I don't forget where I come from. Well, I'm going to add to that. JD Vance, he's a man who will never forget who put him in office. And that's the people of Ohio, and soon it'll be the people of Nevada. Senator Vance has never forgotten whose money government spends. It's not his money, it's your money. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Senator JD Vance and his beautiful wife, Usha.
Why don't we liberate these United States? We're the ones who need it worst. Let the rest of the world help us for change, and let's rebuild America first. Our highways and bridges are falling apart. Who's blessed and who has been cursed? There's things to be done all over the world, but let's rebuild.
Wow, it is good to be in Reno, Nevada. I have to thank the Lieutenant Governor for such a great introduction. I think he's handled Kamala Harris. I don't know if I have to say anything about Kamala now. But in 97 days, starting right here in Reno, we're going to take back this country and elect Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, once again. Now, think, my friends, about all that's happened just in the past month. Donald Trump wiped the floor with Joe Biden on the debate stage, exposed a massive cover-up of the president's mental incapacity, and saved America from 4 more years of Joe Biden's presidency. Not bad. And during that same time, Trump accepted the Republican Party's nomination, held the most successful convention in history. He even took a bullet for the country that he loves and didn't miss a single day of work. That's pretty damn good. Just imagine what he'll do with 4 more years in the White House. Now, we have some friends of ours here from the press in the back. Hello. Oh, it's okay. They're not all bad, just most of them. But our friends of the press, after covering Joe Biden's incompetence for 3.5 years, the media is at it again, this time gaslighting us on Kamala Harris's radical record. They want to portray her as some kind of reasonable moderate. The same media that told us for 3.5 years that Joe Biden, who didn't know where he was, that Joe Biden was Albert Einstein, is now trying to tell us that Kamala Harris is Abraham Lincoln. We all know the media loves a good fact check, so let's get started. Kamala Harris was rated as the most liberal senator in the entire United States during her tenure. That is not a reasonable moderate. That is a crazy record. She is dangerously liberal, and she will never be the president of the United States because we're not going to let her. Now, we're not going to be fooled by the media's lies any longer. And there's nothing they can do about the fact that Kamala Harris, she owns every single one of the Biden administration's failure over the last 4 years. Biden didn't know what he was doing, so clearly it was his vice president who was running the show. It was her as border czar, and don't let the media lie to you, they did make her the border czar. She unleashed the worst border crisis in American history on her watch. In 3.5 years, more than 10 million illegal aliens have invaded our country. Now, that was not an accident, by the way. During her first failed run for president in 2020, she told everyone that's exactly what she wanted to do. To decriminalize illegal immigration, tear down the immigration and customs enforcement system, open up the floodgates, and give every illegal alien free health care. She wanted all of you, America's citizens, to pay the bill. Then on Kamala's first day in office, they went to work. Not for you, but for them. They suspended deportations. They stopped building the wall. They reinstated catch and release. That's how every state became a border state. They just released them all over our country. Sometimes they give them first-class tickets wherever they need to go, and first-class hotel accommodations paid for by the very people in this room. And if that wasn't bad enough, they proposed amnesty for millions of illegal aliens. Kamala Harris might as well have sent a personal invitation to millions of migrants around the world, including some very violent and very bad people. Now, the chief of Border Patrol was appointed over a year ago, but border czar Kamala Harris hasn't spoken a single word to him, not once. What kind of a border czar is that? And I served my friends in the United States Marine Corps. My brothers and I would have called that a dereliction of duty. Kamala Harris has got to start doing her job. Now, the best part of this is she has the nerve to question mine and Donald Trump's loyalty to this country. Did you see that? Well, here's what President Trump and I believe about loyalty. Loyalty to this country is closing the border, not opening it up. Loyalty is safeguarding Medicare for American citizens, not bankrupting it by giving it to illegal aliens. Loyalty is protecting Laken Riley, not allowing an illegal immigrant to come here and take her life. Loyalty is protecting our children from the poisonous fentanyl, not inviting Mexican drug cartels to deal it on our playgrounds. Loyalty is serving in the United States Marine Corps, something I did. Loyalty is taking a bullet for this country, something Donald Trump did. If Kamala Harris wants to talk about loyalty, then she should look in the mirror. And it gets worse, Administration, this administration under Border Czar Harris handed out 3 million work permits to illegal aliens who lied and claimed asylum in our country. Now, they turn a blind eye to people who will steal American jobs and undercut American wages. And I guarantee it, if she becomes the President of the United States, she won't stop until every single illegal immigrant that she let in becomes a voter. Handing over control of your country to people who shouldn't even be here. Now, I have a different message. If you are in this country illegally, start packing your bags right now, because Donald Trump is coming back. It is time to put the interests of American citizens first. It is so simple. American leaders ought to care for the interests of the people of this nation. Isn't that common sense? Now, we're grateful to be joined by some Republican leaders who represent that basic idea that American leadership should protect the interests of this country. You already heard, I believe, from Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. Where is she? She's a superstar. There she is. Great. We've got the great Nevada GOP chairman, Mike McDonald. Where are you, Mike? There you are. Now, this is a tough name to pronounce, but I'm going to try to do it. RNC National Committeeman Jim DeGraffenreid. Jim, I got it? There's Jim. Okay, Jim's over here. How'd I do on the name, Jim? Thumbs up? Great. 2 thumbs up. And we're joined by numerous members of the State Senate and State Assembly. Now, I'm also honored to be here with Sam Brown, a great American patriot, and the next senator from the state of Nevada. Sam, there he is. Come on up, Sam. Can we open up? There we go.
Senator Vance, welcome to Northern Nevada. This, and to the rest of the country, this is where the White House will be won and the Senate will be taken back. Nevada, I'm fired up to be here because I know what it means to serve this country. I know what it means to sacrifice for this country. Senator Vance knows what it means to serve and to sacrifice for this country. And President Donald J. Trump knows what it means to serve and to sacrifice for this country. We are the battleground of the nation. We have such a role to play, and I know that many of you are tired. You are tired of the policies of Biden. You are tired of the policies of Harris. You are tired of senators that ignore you, do not understand our struggles, and will do whatever the Democrats in D.C. or New York want them to do. But I tell you this, in my darkest day, in the day that I thought I was going to give up my life for this nation, there was 4 simple words that took me from a place of having lost all hope to a conviction that not only would I live, but there would be purpose in that suffering. And it was this: sir, I've got you. There is life and there is power in those words. And so I do not take this lightly when I say that President Trump has got us. JD Vance has got us. Nevada, I've got you. And guess what, Northern Nevada? We've got them.
Wow. We love Sam Brown, don't we? Now, for decades, politicians have sold out this country. That's why we need to get people like Sam Brown in there to replace him, right? Now, when multinational corporations called politician offices for a generation, those politicians traded American jobs for campaign cash. Now, they'd never admit it, of course. That's not what they say. They brag about trade deals, and they promise cheap products. They call it globalization, and for so many, that's exactly what it meant. American jobs went to some other part of the globe instead of staying here, right here in Nevada and other states. Now, if it's up to Kamala Harris, it's going to keep happening. She voted to preserve NAFTA, the very trade deal that sent American jobs to Mexico and turned American dreams into nightmares. And now Kamala Harris is asking for a promotion, and I think we should say, Kamala Harris, you're fired. No promotion. Now, I want the American dream as a goal for our children. We don't hear people talk enough about the American dream anymore, but 4 years ago, you did. And 4 years from now, those dreams are going to become a reality because we're going to bring it back. So let me tell you what we believe in this room, and President Trump and I believe on this ticket. We believe that 1 million cheap knockoff toasters aren't worth the price of a single American manufacturing job. We believe that we're going to rebuild factories and rebuild the American dream and stamp more and more products with those beautiful words, made in the USA. Now, I have seen the consequences. Can you hear me? Great. I've been told this is an American-made microphone, so hopefully we're going to be in good shape. Now, I have seen the consequences of electing politicians like Kamala Harris in my own hometown, because more often than not, it's the people the Bible calls the least of these that suffer the most when people like Kamala Harris fail to do their job, when they fail to protect public safety and fail to protect American workers. Now, some of you know my story and some of you don't, but I grew up in a poor family. I was raised by my grandmother. I called her Mamaw. And I've been the beneficiary, I have to say, of a number of strong women in my life, especially my beautiful wife, who you guys saw earlier, aren't we? Now, I would call her up here to come and speak, but then I think I'd have to sleep on the couch tonight, so I'll leave her alone. But I've lived the American dream. Because of those strong women, especially my grandmother, I was able to go enlist in the Marine Corps and go to school and get a good job and become a husband and father and all the things that I've dreamed of. In fact, I'm living it right now, getting to spend this wonderful evening with you fine people. Isn't it great to be here in Nevada? Now, my life worked out because I had a strong grandmother, and I'll tell you a story. When I enlisted in the Marine Corps, I was 18 years old, and Mamaw was very proud of me, but this was back in 2003. She was a little frustrated that I was enlisted in the Marines in a time of war, so she didn't want me to do it. And when the recruiter came to our house to talk to her and explain to her what boot camp would look like, he put one foot on her porch, and she said, "If you take another step, I'll blow that foot off." That's the kind of strong woman that made me who I am. But that amazing, incredible, undefeatable American spirit, I believe, is on the ballot this November. If we don't stop making bad decisions, if we don't stop opening our country to illegal immigrants and fentanyl, if we don't stop Kamala Harris, we are going to lose the American dream. That's why we are going to stop it. We're going to elect Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Now, let's just talk about the contrast between not just these two visions, but 4 years of Kamala Harris's governance and 4 years of Donald Trump's. Kamala Harris's vision is open American borders and closed American factories. It's bigger government that tells you how to live your life and smaller family bank accounts. It's war and chaos all over the world while American citizens pray for peace. Kamala Harris would be the most anti-American energy president that we have ever had. She's pledged to ban fracking. It's on video. You can go look it up. She's vowed to end offshore drilling. She co-sponsored the Green New scam. So when you fill up your tank at the gas station, maybe you should send a bill to Kamala Harris. But make no mistake, the affordability crisis that Kamala Harris created is destroying the middle class in this country. It is the biggest concern American families have. President Trump, by contrast, built the strongest economy in history, and the formula was pure common sense. He delivered a giant tax cut for hardworking families, and we're going to make it permanent. He rewarded American companies for creating jobs in America, and he punished companies for shipping jobs overseas. Again, common sense. He unleashed the spirit of entrepreneurship in this country, and he inspired us all to believe once again in the basic promise of America, that if we work hard and play by the rules, no dream is out of the reach of our children. Now, Kamala Harris and the Democrats have broken that foundational promise. They penalized people for working hard and playing by the rules. That's why so many Americans no longer believe that their children will be better off than they are. And that's a tragedy. If you're out there today and you're trying to make ends meet, if you're scraping by instead of thriving, if your hope is dwindling as quickly as your bank account, I have got good news. On November, help is on the way. We need President Donald J. Trump because we need a president who's going to make this country and our citizens wealthy again. We need a president who is going to make basic life affordable again. Bring those groceries down. We need a president who's going to tell our great American energy workers, let's drill, baby, drill. We got plenty of it. Let's get it out of the ground. Now, Kamala Harris, she's the exact opposite. She wants to end immigration and customs enforcement. She wants to turn our cities into sanctuaries for criminal aliens and then defund the police so there's no one left to stop them. But the countdown clock is ticking. In 6 months, we're going to re-elect Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. And when we do, we're going to launch the largest deportation program in American history. If you came here illegally, you got to go back. We're going to end catch and release. We're going to ban sanctuary cities, and we will build the wall. And for the great service workers of Nevada, we are going to end taxes on tips. No more IRS bureaucrats going after our waiters and our bartenders. Now, people forget that when rioters looted and burned down American cities, especially Minneapolis, in 2020, Kamala Harris was raising money to bail these guys out of jail. The criminals that she helped free included an alleged knife murderer, a convicted rapist, and a domestic abuser who later shot and killed a man. And now, she wants to end cash bail. So if you assault a police officer, you can be back on the street the next day. Now, here's the crazy part. On top of all of that, she wants to confiscate firearms from law-abiding citizens. In other words, she wants to leave you completely defenseless, more dangerous criminals on the streets, more illegal aliens in your communities, fewer cops on patrol, and no guns to protect yourselves. If Kamala Harris wins, we are going to be sitting ducks in this country. And the crime rate that's gone up shows that as reality. But hear me loud and clear, we will never let this happen. Not in Nevada, not in anywhere else. Every home in this country is a castle, and you ought to be able to defend it against anyone who threatens you and your family. And speaking of defense, in this room, we know the truth. Our police are heroes, and we're always going to have their back. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote to back the blue. Never forget it. And together, we are going to save this country for American citizens of every race, color, and creed, and it starts with strength. We need a strong president, strong borders, strong families, a strong economy, and a strong president whose name is Donald J. Trump. We don't like the weakness. We don't like the vulnerability. that Kamala Harris has exposed this nation to. The entire world knows that she helped cover up Joe Biden's mental incapacity and decline over the last 3.5 years. It's the biggest scandal, it may be in the history of this country. For 3.5 years, our country has been saddled with a president who cannot do the job. Now, we all see it, and we all watched it, and it's hard not to feel sad for him, but you got to feel sadder for the country that has suffered under that leadership. But America's adversaries have been licking their chops, because imagine if we saw it for 3.5 years in public, how bad was it in private? And every single Democrat in leadership, including Kamala Harris, they covered up for Biden's incompetence. And if you're too dumb to realize that Biden couldn't do the job, or more likely, if you're too dishonest to admit it, you are not fit to be commander-in-chief. And after 14 million Democrats voted for Joe Biden in the primary, now the Democrat Party bosses believed his poll numbers were too bad, and they're going to install Kamala Harris as their new nominee, a person who has not received a single vote for president. And the media calls it a coronation. I think we ought to call it a coup. In America, we don't crown our leaders, we vote for them. And remember, in the 2020 primary, Kamala Harris dropped out before the first vote was cast. She was so unpopular that she polled in the low single digits, even among Democrats, her entire campaign. She didn't get in the top 3 in her home state of California. And the reason is, Democrat voters know that the American people would never elect a San Francisco liberal so far outside the mainstream. And I think we ought to give the Democrats credit where it's due. The American people will never elect a wacky, out-of-touch liberal like Kamala Harris. We're just not going to do it. $500,000 kids, this is the toll of her leadership. 500,000 kids have been trafficked by the cartels because of her policies, and she calls us disloyal. Hundreds of thousands of our citizens are dead from fentanyl overdoses because of her policies. Hardworking Americans cannot afford groceries because of her policies. And my question to the American people is, do you want a president who is disloyal to this country, or do you want somebody who is willing to take a bullet for it? I think we want the guy who is willing to take a bullet for it. So let me ask you, do we want open borders? Do we want to bankrupt Medicare by giving it to illegal aliens? Do we want to defund the police? Do you want to ban fracking? So do we want a dangerous liberal like Kamala Harris? I'd say hell no. Instead, in just a few months, Nevada is going to lead a great American restoration of American strength, American prosperity, and American sanity. It's going to start right here. We're going to elect Donald Trump. God bless you all. God bless America. And God bless the great state of Nevada. We love you all.
a great speech there by the vice presidential nominee, JD Vance, there in Reno, Nevada.
Very exciting, really highlighting the failures of the Biden-Harris administration, talking about human trafficking, talking about the border czars, massive failures, the amount of young people and people who have been harmed by the fentanyl crisis, a very big policy speech, and directly going at Kamala Harris, criticizing her for calling the MAGA movement disloyal.
Exactly. So 9.9 million illegal immigrants have come into this country under the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris Democratic way. So we're obviously seeing that the GOP platform, the first one is to seal the border. The second is to have the massive deportation operation. So a lot going on there on a West Coast tour for JD Vance. Of course, we'll be in Arizona tomorrow. And then, Bobby, he'll be on the go to the southern border in Arizona on Thursday.
Right. Very exciting West Coast swing, heavily focused on a secure border, and that Nevada, with only 6 electoral votes, may be the make it or break it for the electoral map. So a 50-state solution coming from the Republican platform, and President Trump and Senator Vance aggressively campaigning for success.
And of course, tomorrow then we know that President Trump will be in Chicago for an event, and then he'll go to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for the Pennsylvania rally there in Harrisburg. So it's going to be great. Paul Ingrassia and Nikki Stanzione, they're live tomorrow. Bobby and I will be back here in the studio holding down the fort, but we're very thankful that you guys stuck with us tonight here watching this great speech by JD Vance. We do want to thank some of our sponsors before we go. The Birch Gold Group. All you have to do is text Trump to 989898. This is for gold, silver, and precious metals. Always good to have that financial backing in gold, silver, and precious metals. Get an info kit at Trump to 989898.
And we'd also like to thank the Wellness Company, Dr. Drew Pinsky and Dr. Peter McCullough, putting out this great product of 8 medications, prescription only. You cannot get them over the counter at a pharmacy, so need a doctor's prescription at MakeCareGreatAgain.com. Code RSBN for 15% off. That's ivermectin, Z-Pak, amoxicillin, and 8 total medications to make sure you're safe if you get bird flu or monkeypox or COVID again. God forbid, this will help take care of you and your family. MakeCareGreatAgain.com.
From one great company, let's go to another one, Tax Network USA. Any issues with filing? Maybe you missed the April 15th deadline. Right there, you can work with Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415. So it's Tax Network USA. And our final one is the Bright Core Revive. Great product there. You can look on the phone number there, 888-652-4131 for more information on this awesome product as well.
Make your body great again. Collagen accounts for 30% of your body's protein, and this provides structure, supports strength to your skin, muscles, and bones, and connective tissue. So heal your hair, nourish nails, skin, and increase that muscle mass. Make your body great again. mybrightcore.com/revive.
I think you need to get some muscle mass there, buddy.
I think I do. I've been running a lot, but I really have to get back in the gym lifting some weights occasionally.
Same here. We'll see you at the gym, buddy.
Oh, I look forward to it.
So, guys, thank you so much for watching here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. For Bobby McNeely, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Tomorrow's going to be a great day. We have a rally in Pennsylvania. We'll be at that with Nikki Stanzione and Paul Ingrassia. Until then, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my 2 best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.
Welcome to the Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're not like the other media outlets out there that cut and edit what other people say. In 2015, we were created by our founder, Joe Seals, to cover President Donald J. Trump's speeches and rallies, to which we continue to do to this day. We've also covered important conservative events like CPAC, TPUSA, March for Life, and many other important events and hearings around the country. We were made for people like you, everyday Americans who are tired of the mainstream media, who are tired of being lied to, manipulated, and fed an agenda. Our goal here at Right Side Broadcasting is to allow you to see the truth, giving our correspondents and commentators a wide latitude to speak their minds. You won't find anything like this in the mainstream media. Your support through your donations, locals, and supporting our advertisers allows us to continue to cover important events around the country each and every day. So, from us here at Right Side Broadcasting, thank you for supporting us and the right side of history.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets, only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks so much.